Welcome to Empirical Peapod.
So that's it. We're recording right
Awesome.
now.
Great.
I think I'm going to do a hard intro to every episode this time instead of having an intro. Have you ever listened to the show?
No.
Cool.
Gonna be honest.
Yeah. Well, I usually have like an intro that's like, I don't think I'm going to do that this time. This time, when we start recording, I'm just going to be like, welcome to this episode of Empirical Peapod.
Yeah.
Today we're here with Ashley Jakunski.
Yeah.
That's not your name anymore either.
Actually, it is.
Is
We're
it
not,
really?
We're not married.
You're not married?
No.
You never got married?
No.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, we actually agreed that it was better that we don't get married. Do
You
know
agreed? Yes, I'd like to know why.
Why? Okay. So the main reason is for tax purposes. I'm not
That's the
gonna
main
lie.
reason people get married.
Yeah, that's an illusion. You actually lose a lot of money
Is that-
by getting married.
Wait. Oh, because if you have kids.
Yes, even if you don't.
Really? Because you personally then I presume are using the 2 kid write-offs.
He gets one, I get one.
Keeping it fair.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm going to be honest with you. Like, it's so much better because, when tax time comes, he can claim head of household. I can claim head of household. He
Yeah.
claims a kid. I claim a kid.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to pay as much income tax.
Do you feel bad for taking advantage of America?
No, we don't. We don't use the system for financial reasons as far as like insurance or
Right.
getting any kind of money from the government. We just
Yeah.
want to keep the money that we earn.
Right. Which I
That's
think
it.
is fair.
I mean, yeah. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Give me what I worked for.
Yeah, and why should I be paying for government decisions that I don't agree with? And
First time in America, huh?
I listen. I believe in paying a little bit, but not to the point where it's taking advantage of us. And I think it's
And that's an
it's at
interesting
that
line,
point.
and it fluctuates, right? Because like one of my pet peeves is when people complain about paying for schools.
Right,
I'm like, I don't even have kids. Like, I don't have kids. I want kids to go to school still.
right,
I don't mind paying for the schools.
right,
Now, if we pull that back farther and be like, what are the schools spending the money on? That's a different conversation.
right,
But I don't mind. I want to be part of the community.
right.
I have no problem paying into my little community.
As long as that's where it's going.
Well, we don't have as much control over that.
Right.
Because I'm not going to go to a school board meeting.
No.
Also,
No.
if I did, they're going to be like, why are you
Who
talking?
are you? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But so I do think that that's fair to some extent.
yeah.
I always had the idea that I still stand by, especially with how involved we are now because of social media and the internet is like just standard in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's a lot more, well, this is probably double-edged sword. Everything feels a lot more transparent.
Mm-hmm.
It's also probably it's easier probably to hide things also. But I always felt like on every step governmentally, as far as like your town, city, state, and then federally, at the end of the year, you should be able to go and see an itemized receipt.
Yeah.
Like this
It
is how
should be transparent.
right.
And it's not.
Yeah, this
It's
is
all
how much
hidden.
money we took in.
Yeah.
This is what we spent the money on. At least, even if it's just roughly, like these are the rough estimates of
Right.
where everything went,
Right.
so that we can kind of see. Oh, okay, this makes sense because I think that helps in general. Like you feel better. And then it's like, okay, where are we wasting money? Oh, well, we're not necessarily wasting money anyway because I want this to be paid for, but I don't want this to lose money.
Right.
You know, like I saw when I worked at the junior high, there was a referendum and they're like, the people want these things. Like, hey, it's going to the school to do this. And like, good, we want that. But then when you turn around, you're like, well, you have to pay for it. And they're like, whoa, no, just do it. Like, no, money.
Right.
Money happens.
Right.
And then thing.
Right. Right. Yes.
So it's impossible. But I think it would help if you started noticing, okay, this is how much things cost, and this is where the money's going yearly.
Right.
I think that'd be interesting as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we just need more transparency. And we need more transparency in the healthcare system as well.
Now, you've worked in the healthcare system a long time.
Long time.
Let's build to that. Let's backtrack because you, other than Jason, because we worked together at Circuit City,
Right.
nobody knows who you are.
Right.
Most people on the show are like part of a friends group.
Okay.
You and I have known each other a long time.
Correct.
And Jason worked at Circuit City with us. We met at
Yeah.
Circuit City.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I knew this, but I just realized it today. We met at Circuit City, but you lived in Fox Chase.
Yeah.
Which is where I lived.
Yeah.
It was after high school.
Yeah.
That was what, 2002, 3?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, damn, it's been like over 20 years now.
Yeah. Isn't that nuts?
That is crazy. Yeah.
2 decades.
Oh, Lindsay would know you too. We spent some time at your house. I think when you graduated college.
Yeah.
The first time?
Yeah.
The
I
only
just
time.
remember you having a projector in your room, and I thought, how cool was that?
Yeah. I was the cool guy.
Yeah, you were the cool guy.
I don't know. I wish I was still the cool guy. I wish girls still had that thought about me. What a cool guy.
What a cool guy. Yeah.
How do I get back to that? Get a new projector, I guess.
Well, it's within you.
But where does your life start?
Where does my life start?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I feel like I've lived a whole bunch of different lifetimes
I feel that
since
also.
I've met you.
Yeah, just in the last 2 weeks, because we haven't spoken in years. And even that time, we hadn't spoken for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we just had like one conversation years later, and then
Yeah.
years later, now we're having another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after this, we won't talk again.
Correct. Another decade. We'll be like 50.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll see where we are then.
I like our relationship.
It is interesting.
It's very unevasive, or non-evasive.
Yeah.
It's like, I like this person, but I don't need to talk to you.
But then interestingly, we can also pick up from where we left off.
Yeah, that's how I know we're actually friends.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel like it's been 10 years or whatever.
Right.
It's been, and like, I think we just have a natural magnetism.
Yeah.
That is just awesome.
Yeah.
So, but did your life start?
Well, I mean, we could talk about nursing and how,
Nope.
I just started
Nope.
and, that's a whole nother.
Your literal life.
Oh, come on.
Where did it start? Where were you born?
I was born in Park Ridge,
Yeah.
Illinois, at Lutheran General Hospital. Mm-hmm. I was born to a mother who decided to have me willingly, which was really nice. I'm gonna be honest with
Listen,
you.
way to keep the bar low.
Hey,
I'm so
You
happy
know,
my mom
she-
decided to keep me.
and she's happy she kept me, but there
Yeah.
was a pretty major decision before I was born whether or not I was going to be aborted.
Now,
And I know about that. My
Yeah.
grandma, my grandpa talked to me about that.
Right.
My mom talked to me about that, and it was a
now,
pretty
because
heavy
if
decision.
memory serves me, and I could 100% be wrong, I learned in the last episode that I fill in a lot of blanks for people's lives.
Yes.
With whatever I want.
Right.
But I thought I remember that your dad wasn't in the picture in general.
Well, they went on a few dates. And
Right,
so
but
I
like,
was-
but
right.
he
Yeah,
left when
no.
she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, well,
Yeah.
do I want to do this alone?
Yeah.
Do I have a support system?
Right, yeah.
That's where these conversations
Yes.
come from, which
Yes.
are realistic.
Yes.
I know we're not supposed to talk about it, but that's what
No,
life is like.
That is what life is
Yeah,
like.
100%.
Everything is controversial, and you
Yeah.
shouldn't be afraid to talk about anything.
Yeah, the last guest last week was she works for Aftermath,
Oh.
and they do crime scene cleanup.
Ooh, that would be
So
interesting.
it's all this taboo stuff that you're not supposed to talk about, and she
Yeah.
deals with it daily.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But so ultimately, they decided, well, I guess we'll give it the old college try. Well, at least just your mom. Mm-hmm. That's already insane.
Yeah.
Kind of going. I mean, you've got 2 kids. Can you imagine going
Yeah.
into it alone
No.
and abandoned immediately?
No.
Like that's just tough.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think your mom's amazing.
Yeah. And she made a really good decision. She always said that.
You have to say that. You're the result of that decision.
Yeah, but I'm still happy she made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I grew up with my grandparents, and when I was born, they've always treated me like I was their kid.
Yeah.
And so I never felt like a granddaughter, even though I was the first granddaughter of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And then my aunts all helped my mom, so my aunts kind of felt like moms. So all my relationships with
Are you
my
the
family-
oldest for
I'm the
your
oldest.
cousins and everything
Yeah.
too? Do you have siblings?
I do. I have a sister.
I thought you had a sister.
Yeah, a younger sister.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so everyone just treated me like I was theirs. So there was no lack of love. In fact, there was an abundance of love
Yeah.
growing up.
I feel like those are one of those things, again, that you're not supposed to talk about and be like, do we bring this life into it? Do we have the capacity to do what we should do if we're
Right.
going to?
Well, all you need is love.
Right.
And the answer
Well,
is
the Beatles
always
taught
love.
us that.
Huh? The Beatles,
Beatles
did.
taught us
Yes. Yes, but in order to develop a child, they don't really need much. They just need love.
I'm pretty sure you have to feed them.
I mean, that does
You can't leave them outside long.
No.
I'm speculating.
Yeah.
I've never had one,
Yeah.
as far as I know.
But I mean, if you strive to provide, but always give them love. That's all they really need.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have two doctors that work together as a mom and a dad, and they don't have any time for their children.
Yeah.
And all you see is other people raising their kids.
Right.
And they're acting out. They're diagnosed with ADHD. They're on medicine to help control their behavior. They're
Yeah.
not focusing in school. They're bad. They're running out of the classrooms, other teachers. And, you wonder why. And it's like, well, they're not getting the attention and the love that they
Right.
deserve. And as they're growing up, they're going to start rebelling and acting out because they don't know who to trust. Because their parents are not there to
Sure,
teach them.
100%.
Yeah.
But I think
And we've seen
also, I agree, but I also think that at some point in life, you, growing up, you're 100% correct. That's how it's going to be growing up.
Yeah.
But at some point in life, you have to take responsibility for your life.
No, that's correct.
And that's where it's like, okay.
That's when you become an adult.
But that's when you also start realizing, oh, my parents weren't there, but I had these things around me in whatever capacity, hopefully.
Right.
And you really start being like appreciative of that, like
Correct.
yourself, where it's like your dad was never in the picture.
Right.
And you weren't even supposed to be around in the first place. And you didn't come to that when you were a kid. Eventually, you're just like, God damn, feels good to be here.
Oh, yeah. And you're grateful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And, everyone has life lessons that they have to go through.
Yeah.
And the hard part is the self-reflection.
Sure.
About why is this happening to me? Well, it's not happening to you. It's happening for you.
That's an important distinction that is hard for people to recognize.
Yeah.
Because life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
It's a matter of what you're open to and willing to receive.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And how to, change your perspective on this is always negative to this is happening for me.
Yeah.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
People are removed from your life for a reason.
Sure.
People are allowed to leave you for a reason. They're not leaving you.
Right.
You're either growing out of them
Yeah.
and their situation, and they're not growing with you.
Sure. That's easy talking about toxicity and stuff like that, but it gets a little muddy at an emotional level for human beings when you start talking about when it feels like somebody's being taken from you, like through death or sickness and stuff like that.
Right. No, that's
it's
true.
still the same idea. It's
a
harder
little
to
tougher.
see that though,
Yes.
because
They're physically gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just the way that we relate to our lives.
Correct.
In a physical way.
Right.
That physicality is gone, and we don't necessarily comprehend or think about what's beyond that.
Right.
And so
Well,
it's easy to feel lost.
Right. That's pretty controversial to talk about. Too.
Is it? To me, it's all that exists is energy.
Right.
Everything is some degree of energy, and
Well, energy is neither created nor destroyed.
right, exactly. So it's and that's how I view life. Is even though we are lucky enough to experience it subjectively, individually,
Yeah.
it's one thing that always was and always will be, and then just your physical body might be gone, but the energy is forever.
Correct. Or
And
just transferred.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
Well, yeah, you can say transfer. I'll allow you to say transfer.
Transfer. Like.
To me, it's not. It was never separate in the first place.
Right.
But I'm with you. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Did you say Park Ridge?
Park Ridge. That's where I was.
That's
born.
where we started.
Yeah, and then I grew up with my grandparents for a little while. Lived with them. My mom sort of worked as a waitress, and then when I was 2 or 3,
Was your mom young?
she was young. She's 23 when she had me.
At least
So
out of
it's
high
not-
school, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like super high schoolish,
Right,
but
right.
she was old enough to have one.
Right.
There's
There's no
like
rules. Did you know that?
yeah, but like societal rules.
But when you go to the hospital and you see people have kids and you're like, oh no. But they don't stop them or anything. They just take a baby home.
Right.
And you're like, good luck, baby. I hope
Yeah.
you make it. Your parents are awful.
Right.
Ugh.
But you know what? A part of me thinks that baby chose those parents and
now
chose
there's an
that
interesting
situation,
idea.
and whether or not they were drug addicted or possibly abusive. And I hate to say it, but in some sort of deep down belief, I believe we choose our parents and we choose our life decisions and we choose our life lessons. I mean, well, of course we have free will.
I like
but
this
feel
idea,
like
but I feel the exact opposite.
opposite.
Only in the sense that one of the things I like about existence is that the person that it happens to isn't choosing it.
No.
It's been bestowed upon them, like almost like a gift,
Like
sure.
like a life lesson.
Like a life lesson, sure. But the idea that something that doesn't exist chose something is fascinating, because it begs the next point then that whatever will be already is, in a sense.
Yes.
And I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, because we have free will.
Well, you say that, but what you just said to an extent contradicts that.
Well, that's true. Because we as humans, we have free will. But I feel like we choose certain hard life lessons that we have to go through before we're born. And we're like, yeah, we got this. That'll be no big deal. I will overcome that. And then when we go through it, it's a lot harder than we had anticipated. And we had no idea how hard it was really going to be.
Yeah, well, we love to suffer, but you have to suffer to know what the other side is.
Correct.
If you don't have that...
Do you really think we all need to suffer in order to understand?
100%. I don't... If you didn't know what a negative feeling was, you wouldn't know what a positive feeling was. If all you had ever experienced was love, it wouldn't be love to you. It would just be normal, which is fine, and that's great. But it would still be a plateau. If you didn't have these low lows, you wouldn't have the high highs. Like,
so it's like you're not being able to enjoy the sun without the darkness.
Exactly. If you didn't have the lack of sun, you wouldn't enjoy having the sun. It's a symbiotic relationship. Everything is. That's how everything ebbs and flows. Realistically, that's the beauty of it.
Right. Well, that's the beauty about being a human being.
Right. Yeah. Subjectively living through it that way. Alan Moore always said we're an aperture for which the universe is looking at itself. That's what humans are, which I've always loved. So, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Is that going to be your 2 cents all day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do we go after Park Ridge?
Oh, well, then, my mom found a guy that she really liked. I don't think maybe she was in love with him. Maybe she wasn't. I'm not sure. Is this where your
sister comes in?
Yeah. And then she married him. He was really good to me.
Yeah.
She gets pregnant again. My sister comes along. Her name's Alexis.
Alexis.
I really wanted her. I really wanted a friend. I told my mom, I said, I really want, a sister or brother. And,
how old is your sister? Is a couple years older than you? Or younger than you?
She's 5.5 years.
So you
6 years.
had a lot of life alone.
Yeah. And then she came in and
were you able to make friends, or did you kind of feel lonely in general?
I was.
You just always wanted more.
Yeah.
Never satisfied.
Well, listen, when first, second grade, my dad started moving us around. My stepdad started moving us around a lot. And every year I was the new kid until I hit high school.
That's a lot, too.
So we were moving around to Indiana and all these little cities. So in 4th grade, I think I had 3 4th grade teachers. And I was always the new kid. So I'd make friends and then I'd lose them. I'd make friends and then I'd lose them.
Do you remember dealing with that then?
I mean, yeah, at the time I was really,
kind of like when we were just talking about kids lash out or whatever, trying to process what they're going through.
Right.
But do you remember that specifically of like, every time I feel like I put in the slightest bit of roots,
correct,
I'm uprooted.
Yeah. I mean, and I just kind of went with the flow, and thank God my mom was the strong one.
Yeah.
And she always just made me feel safe and secure during the whole process of moving. So, but I knew she knew it was hard on me anyway. Yeah. And then she tried keeping me in one place, and he just kind of kept moving me around until like junior high was really hard.
Yeah.
Because you're going through those hormones and the changes.
That's when you're changing the most, yeah.
Yeah, and I was getting made fun of a lot in junior high just because I was the new kid. Yeah, it didn't matter. Yeah, I would sit at the the nerd table, the outcast table. And you feel that sense of, I don't belong anywhere. I don't belong with anybody.
Yeah.
And those kids made you feel that way.
Right.
But then as you grow up, you realize that nobody can make you feel inferior. Only you allow them to make you feel inferior.
Yes.
And that you are in charge of your
emotions. But when you're 11.
I know.
Yeah.
But really, in general.
I can't stand when somebody tries to tell an 11-year-old that. I'm like, they're going to come to that on their own, I promise.
Right.
Stop telling them that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just make them feel better and be like, yeah, that sucks. Some people are dicks.
Yeah. Right. So eventually, then junior high, let's see, high school. High school was a little tough.
Did you stay in the same city, or are you still bouncing around at this
So
point?
then she got a separation, and she decided to separate and live on her own with us two and make it as a waitress with just us two.
Yeah.
So sometimes our electricity would get shut off. And she couldn't pay the bill. And I was like, oh man, I just didn't realize how crazy that was until like I'm an adult and I'm like, holy cow, she was so strong.
Your mom kept it together, especially as just a server. That's crazy. Like, stereotypically, it can turn into a lifelong career because you used to like cash and fast cash.
Well, and it's underneath the table. Did she have to pay any taxes?
Well, sometimes.
I mean, sometimes.
Yeah,
but back in the day, I mean, you'd make $200-$300,
right.
and that was awesome in the 90s.
Yeah.
Especially as a server.
Yeah. It's still awesome now.
Still awesome now. Yeah. So then she high school came, and that was great. I graduated early. I wanted to get the hell up out of high school because I didn't feel like it was doing anything for me. I didn't feel like I was achieving anything. High school, everyone graduates high school.
Did you enjoy high school? Like,
I just wanted to get out.
You didn't care about it? Were you a good student? You just
I did. I cared about being a good student. I got,
Did you have
any
inkling of where you wanted to go after high school, or you still hadn't given it much thought?
Well, I knew at a younger age that I liked to do massage therapy.
Yeah.
I knew because when I was like 12, I was, touching my friends' shoulders and stuff. And they were just like, oh my gosh, you're really good. You should do this for real, you know, when I was younger. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should. And I had an older aunt that was a massage therapist. And so she would practice on me when I was in high school. And I really got a feel for what she was doing to me during a massage. And I was like, man, I could do this. Yeah. So I knew at 17 that that's what I wanted to do.
17, you wanted to be a masseuse?
Yeah. So I went to massage school at 17.
Really?
Yes, I did.
Did you graduate high school?
I graduated high school.
Because you graduated early?
I graduated early. And I went to Wabanzi Community College. And
where were you guys living at this point?
We were living in Oswego?
No,
maybe Aurora. I think we were living in Aurora. We eventually moved to
Do you like
Oswego.
that I tell you? I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, not
Tell you about your life.
No, we were probably living in Aurora.
Because I graduated. This season's theme is going to be me telling people about their lives. Be like, no, here's why you're wrong.
Yeah. No, it was probably that in between because we moved to
I don't think you came to Oswego
until
your,
and right. I had graduated in 2002 from high school. So I was living in Aurora at the time. And I remember traveling to Wabanzi. And I remember the teacher saying in the very first day, if you feel uncomfortable getting naked in class, this is not the class for you.
Really?
And I was like, oh, Jesus. I'm like, I am 17. I haven't gotten naked in front of anybody yet.
That's probably illegal in states.
Yeah. I mean, she didn't say that we were going to be like completely like exposed to everybody, but you did have to get naked in class.
Really?
Yeah. That was part of the curriculum.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And especially at 17 where I had just come from high school and you weren't able to wear like a tank top that showed your bra.
Right.
Because it was,
Too much.
exposure.
Yeah.
And now I come into class and she's like, yeah, just nonchalantly like you might want to get out of this class if it's not for you, if you don't want to. I was like, oh man. So it was definitely a shell shock.
Did that help you though as far as like making it less taboo in general?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, because like you said, you hadn't been naked around a person before.
Yeah, I mean, I was still a virgin.
And now you're with a group of people.
Yeah,
community people too. Like this is not a class in a college. I mean, like it's a community college. Yes, everybody can go.
Right.
That's
right.
crazy.
Yeah.
So it's a spattering of people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that was a really interesting experience. And then, being able to like touch everybody in a certain way and learning the techniques, it was really awesome. And it came so natural to me. So when we would actually do our clinicals and practice on real people with real massages, they would give us feedback on what we needed to improve because that was part of the curriculum. Yeah. And I had no critical feedback. Yeah. And I said, come on, I need to improve. And all of my people that I was massaging just said it was the best massage of their life.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, geez, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But when you're in school, you always strive to learn. So I was hoping for some positive reinforcement or positive feedback. And I was just getting, you're great. So I was like, well, I guess, I'm great. But, it feeds your ego at 17 and 18 to, that this is the right path that I need to be on. Yeah. But my whole desire was to have massage as a background, like as a side job.
Right. So you never wanted to pursue that full time.
I was just supposed to be something for $80, $100 an hour, something
Right.
I can do while I'm in college,
Yeah.
working, there and not being able to have a 9 to 5 and all that debt. And since I didn't have a family that could provide money for me, I knew all that money was going to be on me.
Right.
And so no one was going to help me with my student loans. So
when do you remember coming to that realization? Because like I gotta feel like coming to the realization of how amazing your mom was, and has been, came after the realization that you're on your own financially.
well, yeah. That probably came about when I entered college.
Yeah.
And I had realized that.
And start seeing like what it actually looks like financially.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And, Circuit City really wasn't paying the bills.
Bro. Yeah.
So I was working at Circuit, while I was going to massage school.
Also, side note, do you always feel super old when you say that?
Circuit?
Yeah,
I haven't talked about it. Oh, I only talk about it with other people, like
guess
when I
that's
worked
true,
at
yeah.
Circuit. So,
Yeah.
like, I still talk to Mike Walt. I don't know if you remember
Really?
Mike Walt.
Yeah.
He's probably the one I keep in contact the most. We talk
I
like
know
every.
I'm friends on Facebook with Jacques and Dave.
Yeah.
I think even Eric.
Yeah.
I was friends with John. John's no longer with us, which
He is not.
really, really bums me out because I fucking loved John.
Yeah. John, I went to his remembrance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like a year later after he had passed.
Damn, I wish I could have gone to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in 2019, with his remembrance, and we call him Big John, Big Country.
Big Country.
Yeah.
I've always been a big dude, and he's the only one who ever threw me around. And I just
Well,
like.
he was so tall.
He was so tall.
Oh my
He was just a
God.
big country son of a bitch. I loved him.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah.
Just the best personality.
Yeah.
I mean, he was always the life of all the parties.
Oh yeah.
And so easy to talk to.
Yeah. He's so funny. Real easy to talk to. What a handsome man too.
Yeah.
Had a cool beard. Looked awesome.
Yeah. You kind of remind me of him just a little bit.
Me?
Yeah.
I think him and I, if I wouldn't have left Circuit City, him and I probably would have gotten even closer and become even better friends.
Yeah.
I tried working with him years later at Fry's.
Oh, yeah?
When he was at Fry's, he got me an interview and tried to get me in over there. And I was like, I hate this place.
Yeah, it gonna work out.
Yeah, it didn't pan out at all. Well, especially because like I've worked a lot of leadership roles in retail.
Yeah.
And that does not equate other leadership roles in retail.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not good. I don't want to go back to being a $10 an hour guy when I've been the $20 an hour guy.
Right.
So I'm like,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, ain't gonna work.
But I don't miss retail either. I had fun, but I'm glad it's over.
Yeah.
That. So you're working at Circuit City.
Yeah.
You have this thing in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Were you taking clients? Because I got to feel like it's tough. Like you've just gone through this class. You know when you were really young,
Yeah.
learning about bodies.
Yeah.
Now, do you start taking clients that young?
Not privately. No, I started
Right.
working at like spas.
Okay.
And then eventually I worked at a chiropractor's office.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And then I realized that I wanted to find a cure for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease.
Oh.
That is what I really wanted to do.
Yeah. Way to keep that bar low too.
Yeah.
Jesus.
The movie, what's that movie called? Where they're in love and she ends up with Alzheimer's. The Notebook.
Yeah.
So The Notebook came out in 2005. So it was right when I was graduating massage school.
I want to. Not that it matters, but I feel like it was 2004.
It could have been 2004, somewhere around there.
100% irrelevant, but
Yeah, it was like 20 years ago.
yeah.
And it really was like, man, Alzheimer's is a disease that doesn't. I mean, it affects the person having it.
Yeah.
But they don't even know that they have an
Right.
issue because their mind is so far gone
Yeah.
that they don't even know who they are,
Right.
where they are, or what is going on. And it's actually a disease for the family.
Yeah.
And the family is the ones that are hurting.
Yeah.
When they don't remember who their daughter is.
So you decided in 2005 that you wanted to cure that.
Well, I wanted to help find a
Because
cure.
it's been 20 years.
And there's still...
And I feel like you haven't done shit.
No. And in fact, Alzheimer's and dementia is up like tenfold since
I think
then.
that it's definitely up as far as people having it.
Yes.
But I think as far as... I think they're on the brink of treatment.
I hope so.
But some of those treatments are also controversial.
Yes.
Which is like, who either works or it doesn't. Why are you bringing in thoughts?
Right.
Like, it's like technology. Technology is not moral or immoral. It just is.
Right.
What you do with it
Is how, yeah.
Right.
Well, like anything.
Yeah, exactly. But the planet is so bipolar. It's absurd. But that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So, do you pivot then at that point?
So, yeah. And then I went to UIC. I went
You didn't go to
downtown.
college then right away after high school.
I did.
Did you?
I went within 3 days. I graduated high
But you
school on a
graduated
Friday.
high school, you went to massage school.
Yeah, right away.
That's not college.
Well,
it was a college
in
course.
college. It was
Fair.
right. So
Sure.
I was doing that while I was getting my associates.
But you're not okay. You did get a degree.
I got my degree in associates in science while I was doing massage therapy.
You say you got your degree in associates? It's called
associate's
it's
degree.
called
An
an
associate's degree in science.
Listen,
yes.
Ashley, let me mansplain this for you. It's called an associates. Your degree's not in associates.
Well, you know what I mean.
But your associates was in science, you said?
Science, yeah. It was basic.
Yeah.
You know, just all those
Just a
stupid
generic,
basic
whatever.
classes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But then you're about to pivot into the medical field.
Well, yes.
Does
trying.
that come later?
That comes later because I'm still doing massage therapy.
You're still just living the high life at Circuit City.
Yeah. Well, no, I quit Circuit. When did I quit Circuit? 2000.
Because you weren't there when they folded.
No.
Yeah.
No. I quit before then. I think it was when I went off to college and I just couldn't do the traveling back and forth. I was living on campus and
Right.
I was like, yeah, it's not gonna work. And so I remember starting classes and I had to sign my first real debt. Like,
Yeah. Loan?
yeah.
Sign your life away?
Yeah. And
Does it have the amount on it?
Yes.
So like they really drive it home?
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then they give the interest rate. It's a whole contract.
Yeah.
And you know, the government loans was only like $3,500, and then the rest of it had to be like a Sally Mae private loan. That's Sally Mae was back in the day, and that was for a loan for like 10.5%. And my first semester, I had to sign for like $17,949, something like that. And in 2005, that was, I mean, with inflation now, I mean, that was probably at least 40 grand. And it was a shell shock. And I knew that my parents were still borrowing money from me for taxes. So I was helping my parents pay for their property taxes.
Oh, was your mom married at that time?
My mom was, she remarried.
Again?
So she got divorced and then she remarried, but she was just living with the guy now who has been in my life for 25 years.
Okay, because I would say there's somebody she's with, right?
Yeah. And I just remember, because they're always in a state of needing money,
Right.
that I remember out of that 17,000, I had to give them like 4,000 or 5,000 for property taxes, something like that. Well, I wanted to, but like they were really desperate, and they know that all that money goes directly into my account.
Right. But it's to pay for school.
But they give you extra on your loan to like pay for a computer, and they give you extra for your housing, and they give you extra for like dispensary income.
Yeah. I guess it makes sense because to them they're making 20% on the top anyways.
Hand over fist.
At least.
They were just throwing money at the students.
Yeah. It's so
deceiving.
It's so deceiving and despicable.
Oh, it's
the way that they throw money at an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And then are like, all right, for the next 40 years, we'll be taking from you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are all your loans paid off?
Well, we could get to the end of that. That's a whole nother story.
We're also getting to the point where you're going to actually start taking out a bunch.
Yeah.
You go to school for a whole you're starting a whole new career.
Yes.
Because you could have been content to be a massage therapist.
I could have.
With your science.
Correct.
With your bachelor or your associates.
Right.
But now you want to go in a whole different direction.
Well, because I wanted to,
fix the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was striving.
The
I wanted
world's
to. I was
so good right now.
Listen. I was a neuroscience major at UIC.
Yeah.
I wanted that big fancy degree because society told me that I was going to be more successful. I was going to make $1 million more over the course of my lifetime.
Yeah.
All these lies that were fed to me as a teenager.
Right.
And through the school system, by the way.
Well, that's just to get you to get those loans, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yes. But it was indoctrinated as I was growing up. Oh, you're going to be one of the first ones to go to college in your family. You should be very proud of yourself. You're going to get this fancy neuroscience degree. You're going to change the world. And you're going to go into thousands and thousands of dollars of debt with over 10% interest.
Yep.
And you are going to be a slave to the system.
Yeah.
And that is the reality of the whole big facade of trying to do better and trying to make your kids do better. And all these parents wanting their kids to go to college thinking it's going to make them an overall better person. It's bullshit.
Do you think college, at least from a financial stance, is obsolete?
Not if you're going to be an engineer, a doctor.
But even those things, don't you think it should be free?
I mean...
Do you think education should be free?
I think it should be affordable for a student to work part-time.
Sure.
Go to school and pay as they go. Mm-hmm. That is how college should be. I think, because back in the day, in the 70s and the 80s, right? I mean, they used to just have a side job, mow some grass,
sure,
save up enough for college. You can go to college for a semester.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to do that.
But where do you draw the line on even that? Because this is where I kind of fall off the path to where I'm like, no, it should just be free. One, I don't believe in our monetary structure in general.
Right.
Two is it evens the playing field.
Does it?
100%. Because now it's an option. Because I don't think that you would see an influx of people going to college if everybody had the opportunity to go to college. I think the same people would strive for the same goals. They just wouldn't have the stress. And I think that that's important. That might be optimistic, but I think that that's true, or at least it'll become true after a couple generations of that new kind of a structure. Because I think now a lot of people don't want to take advantage of the opportunities because it can be what you just said.
Yeah.
It can be harrowing.
Yeah. But it's because the government got...
It can be bad.
But I think anytime the government messes with any system, it does not improve the situation.
Right, but now that's an interesting idea because that's a spider web. Like, it is, because I don't disagree, but there is certain things that need to be run by something, and that, because it's run poorly right now, does not mean that the thing is a bad idea.
No.
That's important distinction.
That's true.
You know,
but anytime
I can't say when people are like, this one person on welfare is taking advantage, throw the whole system out.
Right,
like, well,
right.
No.
Right.
You can definitely tighten the system.
Right.
And fix the problem.
Right.
Don't take away something that's helping other people.
True. But I feel like if the government wasn't involved with the student loans, then the colleges wouldn't charge so much money.
Explain
because they know
how
that they automatically get a certain amount of money from the government because it's guaranteed money.
Right.
And when it's guaranteed money and they know that these students are guaranteed loans, they're guaranteed clients, they're guaranteed income, and they can raise
and that word is problematic because they look at it that way.
Correct.
Client is not how you should be talking about students.
Well, that's what they are.
100%. But that's what it's saying.
They're saying
you're right.
They're clients.
Yeah, these are clients. Yeah.
It's money.
But that's the same. I mean, you work in the nursing field.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, though.
Thing.
These
patients are patients. They're clients.
Right. Yeah. They're customers.
They're customers.
Yeah.
They're users.
That's a problem.
And how do you make people users for life?
You gotta keep them sick.
Technically, all they want are heroin users.
Right.
People that depend on them to make them feel better.
That's one of the things I've always had an issue with is, and again, I do think that people get into those fields for the best reasons.
They do.
But I think once you learn about what it's like.
Correct.
And you just start getting beaten down over 20 years and you're like, okay, this is a business,
Yeah.
and to stay in business, we need sick people.
Yes.
So your job is not to heal people.
Oh, no, it's not to cure.
Keep customers coming back.
Yes.
And
yes,
that's
yes.
a problem.
Yes, huge problem.
That's why insurance shouldn't exist.
Well, that's true too. The problem with insurance is it dictates what the doctors can and cannot do.
Right, but if that went away and all medical stuff was also free, like education in this utopia we're creating,
Yeah.
it takes all that stuff away.
Right.
And now it again evens the playing field. Now you go back to your passion of wanting to help people.
Right.
And nobody's tying your hands and there's no red tape.
Right.
You do what needs to be done to save this person.
Right.
There's no financial burden. There's not a board to answer to.
Right.
This is other than like whatever malpractice, but you don't need the insurance for that. It's just like, did you do the best you could have done?
Right.
And because I do think that there's a certain level of doctors being terrified to even attempt certain things.
Well, terrified. They're programmed.
Sure.
So,
yeah,
listen,
right.
they're programmed with protocols.
Yes.
Doctors hide behind protocols all the time.
Yeah.
Say, sorry, this is protocol.
Yeah.
If you don't do this, I can't help you.
Right.
And they can kick you out of an entire practice because you don't follow their protocols.
Right.
And their protocols are set so they don't get sued.
Yes. But I think that that's an unfortunate necessary evil that they've had to learn.
That's correct.
Because I don't think that they're evil intentions.
No.
They've been fucked with basically.
Yeah.
And they're like, if I want to keep my house and my family eating,
Right.
this is how I need to operate. And that's the problem.
Yes.
And I think that comes from these other things.
We used to be able to go get a second opinion.
Right.
The problem with second opinions are if they're all on the same protocol and
Right.
they're all taught the same thing,
Yeah.
you're going to get the same exact freaking answer.
Right.
So before in the 70s and the 80s, everyone used to talk about second opinions, second
Yeah.
and third opinions. You're not going to get a doctor to change their mind.
Right.
Not usually.
Yeah. Do you think so? You didn't think that college should be free,
No.
which is weird. Do you think that medical healthcare should be free?
No.
Really?
No.
You're so bad at life. So we literally just talked about how if we take these things out, it evens the playing field and everybody is on the same level and gets taken care of. And when you hear that, you're like, that's bad.
It allows for people to still make poor decisions and not take accountability for their life.
So I feel like I see where you're going. One of the things I talked to my friend Melissa about a lot is if you don't pay for it, because now that I do like the health life coaching stuff,
Yes.
I have a hard time like, what do you price that at? And like, she's like, if people don't pay for it, they don't value it.
Correct.
And
So for instance, if I give away a massage for free
Right.
versus my regular charge is $100 an hour,
Yeah.
who am I going to get to call me on the phone?
Right.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
who's gonna call me for a free massage?
Right.
People that are up to no good. Okay, I'm telling you.
Well, I feel
I
like
still get
that's
people
speculative,
calling.
though,
Listen,
right?
I still get people at $100 an hour calling me and asking me if I do happy endings.
Are you serious?
I do. You betcha. And it's males in the middle of the afternoon that want something real
Yeah.
quick for 30 minutes.
Right.
And I'm like, listen,
Right.
that is not what I do. I charge $100 an hour. I still can't believe you're asking me this.
So the bad news is no happy ending.
Yeah.
Totally joking.
But I mean, you keep your prices high so you get quality people.
Yeah, part of it is
asking,
to weed out the riffraff. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And your time is valued.
Yeah, which is hard to come by.
And
you feel like you learned that early because you did it so early?
No.
Okay, that
came later.
Because I feel like you probably spent too much time giving free massages.
Well,
and being
discounted.
talked into things.
Discounted massages,
Yeah.
like $60, $50.
Right. Because I remember when we met, you were a very different person. You were amazing. Don't get me wrong, and we became pretty quick friends.
Yeah.
But you were not even 20.
No.
You were like a deer in headlights, but you were so outgoing and so just let's do everything that exists.
Right.
And I don't think there's anything bad in the world.
Well, now I know better.
Right. So
I've
the world's
learned a
beaten
lot.
you down for the last 20 years.
Well, it's been really enlightening.
Yeah.
And people that want to help themselves tend to want to, I don't know, how do I say it? when you pay for something, you tend to value it more.
Right.
Really.
That's just the reality of it.
Yeah. So if school was free,
right, you think people wouldn't value
people
it.
would not value school.
What
at
if you
all.
paid for it in a different way?
How?
I don't necessarily have the answer, but what if it wasn't $1 amount cost?
How about like doing work for the educational system? Maybe on the off times that when you're not in class.
Maybe there's kind of like where in some countries there's mandatory military service.
Correct. Like working off your debt.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
I think that builds that value.
Yes.
Also, like it also probably opens doors for future jobs if you want to stay in that.
Yes. And if everyone had free health care, I guarantee you people would also not be taking as good of care of themselves as you think they would be. Because it's free.
You wouldn't have to.
You wouldn't have to.
But I think that I think that that's maybe this could 100% be me just being dumb or naive. But I think that when you have that kind of a big change, like it just happened today, yeah, that's fucked up.
Right.
But I think over the next
time.
20, 40 years, 60 years, when that's the norm, and it's become the norm to those generations, I think that you have the healthiest citizens and the most educated citizens. But I think you're right. If it changed today, absolutely, everybody stops taking care of themselves because people right now are looking for a fix, not a better lifestyle.
Right.
But I think that the next generation starts taking care of themselves. The next generation, that it becomes embedded into your brain because you have access to it. Instead of right now, like when I'm sick, that's it. Like I'm like, oh, I'm not going to the hospital. I'm not going to pay for it. I don't have insurance.
Right.
I'm not going to pay for it for the rest of my life.
Right.
I guess I'll get through this or die.
Right.
And that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Like,
and that shouldn't be something you should be thinking about
or
debating about.
So it's definitely got to change. And I'd be curious to see what that would look like, because I think if you keep it on a monetary system anywhere, I do think we agree that insurance should not be a thing.
Insurance should not be dictating your health.
Yes.
As far as how much is reimbursed, what tests you can or cannot have, what treatments you can or cannot have, and what's qualified under the insurance.
Right.
Insurance is not the boss, but they are.
Right.
And that's a problem.
We allowed that to happen.
Correct.
That is a problem.
Yeah. Like if you have cancer and you want to go ahead and not do the chemo that they want you to have.
Yeah.
You can't make that decision for yourself.
Is that true?
That's correct.
How that seems impossible.
It seems impossible, but it is not.
I feel like you can 100% be like, I don't want to do chemo.
Insurance won't cover it. It won't cover alternative treatments.
Oh, okay.
Until
you can refuse, but then
you can refuse, but it will not be covered.
Right. They're not going to pay for something else.
Correct.
That doesn't.
And are you between a rock and a hard place then? Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Because everything costs a tremendous amount.
Yeah, especially if they know it helps people.
Yeah. Or does it?
Well, everybody's different, right?
Huh?
Everybody is different,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Some people respond to things.
Oh, for sure.
So
no two people are the same.
Yeah, because I feel like you were alluding to that chemotherapy doesn't help.
No. In fact, there are probably, a handful, maybe even more studies showing that chemotherapy is not as effective as
I feel like that's coming out now in the last couple of years, really hard.
Yeah, I mean, less than 50%.
Yeah.
Which, I mean...
Well, it always had those numbers, but we didn't know that. And they really pushed it. Well, I mean, like, as society, we didn't.
Yeah, as a society.
They knew that.
Oh, for sure.
But it also brought in so much money.
Oh, yeah, 50 grand a month?
Yeah.
And you want to live.
Well, that's per
person. And they know that.
That's per person, you're saying.
Yeah, 50 grand a session per session.
Because it's like, even like when my mom had breast cancer, they had her on those pills. And those pills are like $1,000 a piece. Well, yeah, that's insane.
And you want to live? You'll give your life savings to live one more day.
I wouldn't, but I hate myself.
Well, come on. But in general,
a normal person would. Yeah.
They play on the emotions of people and their worst diagnosis of their life,
so
and they know that.
We kind of jumped ahead, but
sorry.
No, that's great. You went through. Eventually, you'd be going to the medical field.
Yes, but. I was diagnosed after I signed the loans. I kind of went a little crazy mentally.
Really?
Because of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And
that's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, and I remember calling the police, thinking that someone had stolen my book. This is how it started. My organic chemistry book.
Yeah.
It was missing. It was $300 book.
Yeah.
And I had left the door open the previous night, and I had left it out in the open, and I thought someone had stolen my book.
Yeah.
And I knew I couldn't afford to buy another one.
Right.
And I was freaking out. And it turns out that my roommate had taken it. And she had taken it like out to study out in the sun underneath a tree or something, and she was going to come back. But she didn't tell me that she was going to take it. Okay, something simple, something small.
It's
okay?
still weird, but sure.
Weird, but small. And I remember when I was filling out the police report, and when she came back in, I felt just really ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I thought something is mentally wrong with me.
Right.
That I'm going through all this panic and anxiety and stress, and I should probably go see a therapist about this. I did. And the therapist, I started seeing her like once a week, and she was telling me, you know, all these things that, I have anxiety, and, you know, I think you're bipolar, and I think I'm going to put you on some medication. And I said, okay, you know what's best? Blindly thinking
Oof.
that I had...
Also, that's this season's theme. Oof.
Oof. Well, this is when I started not trusting the system.
Right. You're not even in it yet.
No, I'm not even in it
You
yet.
just signed your life away
I strive
to join.
be. I strive to be in the system. And then I started taking, what was I taking? It was a form of lithium.
Yeah. That was for the quote unquote bipolar.
Correct.
Do you think you're bipolar?
No.
Right.
No. It was definitely because of the
It's
anxiety and the signing of...
So I've had 2 doctors, psychologists on the show, and we've talked about it because I'm like, I'm nothing in the field, but I feel like bipolar is thrown around a lot.
Yes, well, because there's a
unnecessarily.
spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And they call it the fucking spectrum. And
Right.
sorry, it just bothers me that they now have widened it so
Sure.
much that when
Yeah.
you have an episode of
Right.
either a high or a low,
Right.
or you have a combination of both, all of a sudden you're on the spectrum.
It bothers me because it'll be like if you literally just go from happy to sad, and like, oh, you're bipolar. I'm like, no, sometimes shit just happens and my mood changes, bro. Like I'm not. It's okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel different.
Yeah.
You don't have to put everything on a thing.
Yeah. So, but we're in the field of diagnosis, and you become a client
Right.
when you need drugs.
Customer.
A customer, client, yes. You become a customer. So I went through that. My grades started to fall because the side effect of this medication is apathy.
Yeah.
And I didn't give a fuck
Right.
about anything.
Also, no drugs should side effects should be a new emotion.
Yeah. Well, especially an emotion that is now I'm getting C's and D's in college.
It's like when they give you the depression medication, like you might get suicidal.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
That's just the wrong way.
Yeah, wrong way. Yeah, no one thinks that we should question that. That's a whole nother downhill thing that we could talk about. But yeah, and then my what do you call those people that oversee the dorms? The leaders of the dorms.
TAs?
The TAs. What are they? Yeah. And he came into my room one day, and he's like, Ashley, he's like, I don't understand why you're on these pills. And he threw them across the room. And I remember all the pills going everywhere.
Like
and
a
he
movie?
Said, like a movie. It was like a movie scene. And he's like, you don't fucking need these pills. He said, you are not bipolar. He's, and so he knew me. And he said, you need to get off these fucking things. And they just want your money, blah, blah, blah. And it really helped me realize that, hey, maybe he's right. Maybe it's just me being, having some anxiety about not being able to pay the money I just signed.
How
and I have
reasonable.
anxiety about money,
Yeah, in general.
And I remember talking to a girl I was, really good friends with in organic chemistry. And the organic chemistry is the one I was getting a D in.
Yeah.
And I remember we went to lunch one day, and I was telling her all my problems and stuff like that. And she said, girl, she's like, your problem is just the money.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, probably. I said, but, me working and making, because I was working for a company doing massages, so they would take more than half of my massages.
Right.
So I wasn't getting $100 an hour. I was getting like $40.
Yeah.
And I would work my ass off for that hour, and I could only do like an hour a day. So I was only getting like 40 or $50 a day, which really wasn't anything. And she said, well, we were sitting at lunch in December. I'll never forget it. And she said, I have a confession to make. And I said, oh, what's that? And she said, well, I'm a dancer. And I said, oh, like a ballet dancer? And I was so naive.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm like, what kind of dancing do you do? And she's like, I'm an exotic dancer. And I said, oh. And she said, I can get you a job at my club. And I was like, oh, thank you. But no, I am not that kind of girl. I said, I don't have that
Whatever
body.
that means.
I was like, like not like that. I wasn't like, I didn't feel like I had a beautiful body or a beautiful like persona to go ahead and do something that crazy.
Yeah. At that time.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was like 20 years old.
They make
whatever.
ridiculous money. Well, they can make ridiculous money.
Yeah. So, she said, why don't you just like come and see what it's like inside the club with me one night? And I said, okay, no big deal. So, I did not know that I was walking into an interview.
Wow.
She just kind of tricked me, and she, not tricked me, but she really wanted to introduce to this lifestyle.
If you walked into an interview and didn't think you were walking into an interview, that's tricked.
Oh my gosh. And I was the goody two shoes.
Yeah.
I was the girl who always did everything by the book.
You were uncomfortably innocent at that time.
I was uncomfortably innocent.
Yeah. Like you said, you barely kissed a boy.
Yes. And then, well, actually, I lost my virginity to a guy at Circuit City.
I remember.
Oh, okay.
I was not going to bring it up.
So technically, I was not a virgin at the time, but I didn't have like a lot of sex and a lot of relationships. I was very, very young. I didn't know about.
Even that was probably new and awful.
It was just walking in. I remember just thinking I was very overwhelmed.
Yeah.
By the environment, and the energy felt like, oh boy, I probably shouldn't be here.
That's at least for me, that's common. I've only been to a strip club once.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I felt.
Yeah.
Except I was very drunk.
Yeah. I was not, because I don't do drugs and I don't drink.
Yeah.
And so neither did she, which was awesome. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to get involved with any of that. So, but anyway, I met with her boss, the manager of the club, and he sat down and he literally was speaking to me just like how me and you are, but closer.
Yeah.
And he said, look at me, don't look out there. This is a business.
Right.
You need to come in here, treat this place like a business, and you will make money and you will leave. You do not take any of this business home with you. You do not take anything from home here.
Right.
And you need to treat every single person like it's a business. You show up on time, you take things seriously, and you do not mess around here. And you will go far. And he made sure I was 18 and over, because that was the minimum requirement.
Yeah.
And he says, you can start tomorrow. And I was like, what?
I was gonna say, were you a stripper? Is that where this is going?
So I could not be a dancer. Yeah. I could not expose myself.
I like that you tried to keep it classy by saying dancer. Yeah. I don't think there's any shame in stripper.
I think it's because I worked in that environment for a while. Sure. And I always treated my girls.
So they're amazing. To me, it's a job like any other job.
Yeah.
And they're taught to treat it as such. It should be treated as such.
Yes.
I don't look down on it at all.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
But when he flipped,
I wish I could be a stripper.
But when he flipped my perspective.
Yeah.
On, oh my gosh, this is a sexual bad environment. I shouldn't be here. To, hey, this is a business. Yeah. And really turned me around and it was like, okay,
Which is great, honestly, for as him, because there's plenty of horror stories
Yeah.
that are not great.
No.
So to have somebody that's kind of instilling that value
Yeah.
and then living up to that value is refreshing. Like, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, what could it hurt? I might try it out for like one night, you know? I won't tell my mom or I won't tell anybody, you know, what's going on because I don't know if I'm going to like it. So why would I rock the boat and telling my family because I can't lie.
People are just going to try to push their opinion on you anyway.
Well, right. Oh, of course, there's a facade. There's a whole big, huge ordeal of, you know, you don't go to those places, you know. But anyway, so my first night, I remember.
You're literally wearing a Bible t-shirt right now.
And okay, so I didn't
like
tell
your
you
story of getting into the seedy underbelly.
Yeah. I didn't tell you what I did though.
Yeah.
So I didn't get naked. That was not my job. So what do you think I did?
Bartended.
Right? No.
No?
There was no bar.
Oh.
So there was no alcohol.
Wait. What strip club exists
Mine.
with no alcohol?
Mine was the only one with no alcohol.
Are you sure you could make money there?
Listen, I loved it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, no guys can force me to buy drinks, right? And force me to drink.
Yeah.
Being polite,
They
right?
don't get
like,
they probably don't get handsy as much.
Well, because they're not
Right.
drunk,
Yeah.
right? I was like, oh, this is great. Absolutely no drugs, no alcohol. And I was like, oh, this is the best place for me because I don't do any of that. And I don't want to be around that. And I don't want to get pressured
Did they
into...
serve food?
No.
So what the hell did you do? Did you clean the stage?
No. So they served like soda drinks.
Okay.
So they still had like a bar, but it was just strictly soda
Right.
and like Red Bull and stuff like that when Red Bull was a thing.
Is it gone?
I mean, it's still here, but it's like now you know it's way bad for you. You should not
gone.
be drinking
We're
it.
just old.
But I know too much now about the health of what we're eating and consuming.
Yeah.
So it's really doesn't exist to me anymore. So I
Sure.
feel like it's a past thing, but it still exists, but it doesn't exist for me. It doesn't, not in my land.
Yeah.
But yeah, so me, she was a stripper or dancer, so she did her own
I
thing.
corrupted you.
You did. Sorry. So she was a dancer and she did her own thing, and I got hired as a shoulder masseuse.
Wow, really?
It was one of the only clubs in all of Chicago that offered.
This was in Chicago, proper?
In Chicago, you bet. Yeah, downtown, for sure.
Because you were going to UIC at this
Yeah,
time?
and that's how I met her. And so she would just take me in her car because I didn't have a car. And we would just go to work together. And the first night, I remember, because you could wear whatever you want. I wore like black yoga pants and like a shirt, like a cute shirt.
Yeah.
No heels because I'm not a heel girl. But like nicer shoes.
Sure.
And then I remember just going around asking people if they wanted $10 shoulder massages. That's it. They were clothed.
So interesting.
They were watching the girls on stage.
Yeah.
I come up behind them. I just massage them. They were 2-minute songs, so they were 2 minutes for $10.
It was just during the songs?
Yeah, during the songs. Like, hey, how many songs you want? One?
Yeah.
One for $10? Sure. And they would like, oh, I want another one. Oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. And before you know it, because there were only like 3 or 4 massage girls on the floor, I would get a pretty hefty amount. And I remember they didn't charge me a house fee the first couple of nights I worked.
Yeah.
They wanted me to just keep all the money because I was so new.
Yeah.
So usually they charge a house fee, a flat fee when you first come in, and they take a certain amount. Because you have to pay them, you have to pay valet, you have to pay house mom.
Everybody pays out.
Everyone pays out.
Yeah.
But the first couple of nights, it was like free to see if you like it. And I remember coming home with, I think it was $175, and I'd only worked like 10 to 3 or something like that.
10 in the morning?
10 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Okay, yeah.
A very small amount of time.
Yeah, 5 hours.
And it was easy because I love doing massage therapy.
Right,
Massage comes easy to me, and I was just massaging people over the clothes, watching the girls on stage.
Yeah.
And I was
Is it hard to massage a man with a boner?
I don't know if they had one or not.
Bruh.
I mean, I wouldn't know.
How naive are you?
I mean, I would assume that people are turned on, but I don't think everybody is.
I agree with you, and I was just making a joke, but it's weird to think, what's the appeal of going then? This place doesn't have food. It doesn't have alcohol.
Are you ready for
Yes,
what
I am.
They were the only fully nude club in Chicago. So fully nude.
They know what they're doing.
They were getting fully naked.
Definitely
on stage.
boner pants.
Yeah. Well, I mean, apparently the legalities in Illinois is if you have alcohol, they have to keep the panties on.
Is that true?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And if they do not serve alcohol, they could be 18 and up, and they take off the panties.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, and we were the home of $10 lap dances.
Yeah.
So when you'd come in, be on the regular floor, $10.
Right.
$10 massages, $10 lap dances.
Yeah.
And it was.
Is that affordable? Is that cheap?
I mean, it was pretty cheap. Even I feel back then.
I have no idea.
I mean, I think now I'm
I don't
not sure
have a
what it
frame
is
of
now.
reference. I don't like to be touched.
No.
No.
That's sad.
It is sad.
Yeah, but like 10 or 20% of the population does not like to be touched.
Yeah.
Medically, physically, just maybe sexually, yes, but not like in
Only
a medical
a certain
sense.
sexual situation.
Correct.
But like just randomly.
Yeah. No.
I don't like people in my space.
Yeah. But so mine wasn't sexual. Mine was just shoulder, and I really
Can
liked
you do
it.
head massages?
Have I had massages?
No. Would like in that realm of like literally just shoulder massages, or because I feel like there's nothing to me better than a head massage.
Oh yeah, no. I would go like
Yeah.
shoulders, neck.
You've got those
head.
wandering hands.
Oh yeah. Sometimes in the chest if I reached
Oh,
around.
there you go.
You know, a little sneak.
Ashley work at the strip club doing the reach around.
Just to the chest. Yeah. So yeah, and then I really started enjoying massaging the dancers.
Yeah.
So they became some of my best customers.
Yeah.
Every single night they were there and I was there, and they needed a tune up because they're working their ass off. They're on 7-inch heels.
Right.
They're on poles.
Doing
They're
crazy
dancing. They're
stuff,
doing crazy stuff. They're sweating. I mean, they are literally working their ass off.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that. I just like to massage. And it was really awesome to be massaging beautiful, hot women. There was something about that. Like, they smelled good.
Right.
They looked good. Their skin was smooth. Like, I appreciate a woman's body as far as, like, I wish I could be like that. At least I could, like, massage it and look at it.
Does it make it? But does it make it harder to massage gross people?
I wouldn't say gross. I would just say
Of course you wouldn't.
I would just say, because I mean, I'm a medical professional, so I don't really feel like human bodies are necessarily gross.
Like we said, everybody
but like
is different.
There is a frame of beauty to look at as they're on stage and they're dancing.
And
it's
that's
like
an individual
hypnotic.
thing, though.
Correct. That's
Right,
individual. Yeah. I just felt like it was really hypnotic to like look at them.
That's you projecting your insecurities about your body.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really enjoyed it.
It's a cool experience in general. Like I feel like, not to be weird, but especially coming from such a naive state of mind and kind of not necessarily sheltered, but sheltered.
No, but trusting.
Yes. Like amazing, you're not dead. Trusting.
Yes.
And to kind of still be a part of that environment in the safest way.
Yes.
Luckily.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I mean, I had never in my life felt more safe
than
working at that place, at that club. Their big bouncers were everywhere. I never felt like I was in any kind of danger.
Yeah.
My car was always valeted. They'd always walk me to my car, get me in my car, shut the door. Like, it was full on service.
That's pretty cool.
And I felt like I was a part of something important.
Yeah.
And they never made me feel less than. In fact, they raised my ego very high, in fact. And that's when I started having more of like an inflated sense of self.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but in a more developing way.
Sure.
And I learned from some of these girls. Some of these girls were coming from hard homes.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them used drugs. Some of them used alcohol. Some of them were in bad places. Some of them were using abortions as birth control, which I felt was just like horrendous.
I don't know if you've ever seen that piece of the medical field, but I feel like that's just it's so bad for your body.
Oh,
and like,
yeah.
Because I don't know how many people know what it's like to get an abortion, and not that I'm an expert by any means, but you don't just go to the abortion clinic and then go about your day.
Well, it
puts you down for at least a day or two. It's it's like it hurts.
Yeah. Well,
So I couldn't imagine.
In more ways
Well,
than one.
yeah, that's just physically. There's just
Yeah.
plenty
Yeah.
of layers there. I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine just being all crazy and just being like, I mean, we'll just deal with it later.
Yeah.
That's nuts to me.
Yeah.
Can't be good for you.
No. But I was friends with a girl that didn't go in that direction.
Yeah.
And it was really healthy for me to have her by my side, help guiding me through this process.
I also like to see, like we just talked about a bunch of stereotypical things.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be able to be a part of it and not fall into those stereotypes.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's good people everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
That's why we don't like to judge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Customers, males that would come in and we would have conversations and they would want to get to know me a little bit. And they'd be like, oh, sure. You're just going through this to pay for school, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to be a medical professional,
And you're
right?
like, but that's literally my story.
That's what I'm doing. And then I had a doctor come in.
You are stereotypical.
Are you ready? I had a doctor come in and he started quizzing me on diabetes.
Oh, nice.
Diabetes medication.
Yeah.
What the protocols are. And I told him about all this stuff. And he's like, oh, I guess you are going into the medical
There you
field.
go.
And I said, yes, I am.
Do you think that's a Midwest thing? Like, do you think if you go out to like California, all the strippers are gonna be stars?
I mean,
like
maybe.
here, they're all gonna be medical professionals. Like every little piece of the country
Right.
has a different
different
stereotype.
Yeah, it could very well be.
I hope so.
Yeah. But these girls would also travel to other clubs in other cities.
I'm
so
sure
there'd
they
be
make
like
so much money.
I mean, a bunch
Yeah.
of them would go to like Vegas for the
Yeah.
for the winter. A bunch of them would go to Florida for the winter.
It
and
reminds
they'd go
me
to the,
of wrestling back in the day when it was territories. So
Yeah.
you get a group and like, all right, we're gonna work this, and then we're gonna head out to this state and work this one for a little while. That's how you maximize your funds.
Yeah.
And you can follow the weather. Smart. So smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were smart.
Yeah.
I mean, they would make quite a bit of money. I mean, I felt like I ended up making sometimes more than the dancers would.
Really?
Because of how I interacted with my customers and my clients. And a lot of the girls, I think, not that they had animosity, but they were taking off their clothes and I was
Right.
keeping mine on.
I think there's a different level of intimacy there also.
Yeah.
Of like watching something versus being touched. Like, even though it's still not in a sexual way by any means.
Right.
But it is an intimate thing.
Correct.
And like being massaged, it feels good.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
So I feel like it makes sense that you could probably make pretty ridiculous money on
Yeah.
certain nights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you miss it?
I do. So my first time I quit, which preludes the fact that I ended up going back.
Right.
But first time I
Those
quit.
are called context clues.
Context clues. The first time I left, they were not working with my school schedule. They wanted me to work like during the week. And I said, listen, I'm in college.
This is a third shift essentially also.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. And they wanted me to work like Monday nights. And I said, I can't.
Were your
I
classes
said-
all like 9 in the morning type things?
Yeah.
So you go home and sleep. It's
Yeah.
just barely not enough time to like
Yeah.
like if you had like a 5 a.m. class, just
Yeah.
stay up and
Yeah.
knock it out.
Yeah, but
sleep
no,
after.
no, yeah. So I'd only work Fridays and Saturdays for
Yeah.
the most part. But when school, I got into, so after I finished my neuroscience psychology degree,
Oh.
I realized that
So you have a degree in neuroscience?
whatever, it's psychology. It's really basically psychology with some
But you have a psychology degree and
with a specialization in basically neuroscience.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's a fancy degree that means nothing.
yeah.
Remember that.
Okay. More fortunate.
I decided that I didn't want to do lab rats, like, and study them with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and what you have to do is be in a lab with rats and then, dissect them and look at their brains and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And I realized that I need to be around people.
Yeah. Dissect people, look at their brains.
Well, or at least just be around humans and do research on humans. I wasn't into like the mice thing.
Yeah.
So I decided I wanted to do radiation therapy. I want to help people with cancer.
Oh.
I said, you know what? I'm just going to go that direction.
So basically you were like, Alzheimer's and dementia is too hard.
Well,
I'll fix cancer.
yeah, or at least help people through
Yeah.
a really rough time in their life. And
Does
it's
that
like
require a new degree or is that
It does.
adjacent? So now you're going for a third degree.
yeah.
Are you still in school? This is insane.
Listen. I know it gets worse.
Oh, good.
So, because I'm still indoctrinated that this is still a good thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Now, you're not really dating through all this either.
No, I don't
You're
have
focused
time.
on school.
I
right?
don't. Yeah, I
There's
don't have
definitely
time.
no
And where am I
time.
going to meet him? In the library,
Yeah.
where I'm doing a bunch of my
Listen,
classes, or am I going to meet him at a club?
You're right.
Am I going to take a
At the strip
customer
club.
home?
You're not
Okay.
allowed to do that.
No. And in fact, I mean, when you meet somebody and you already meet somebody in that environment, they already have the preconceived notions of how you are,
Sure.
and so no one's going to see who I really am if they meet me in the club first. Like if you, I mean, it's hard to say, but like
you're generalizing, but it's mostly true.
Mostly true.
Yeah, it's true enough.
The respect is a little bit lower
Sure.
of where you are and what you do and all that other stuff.
Probably one of the reasons I don't go to strip clubs is I'm the guy I'm very gullible.
Oh.
So I think she likes me.
Yeah.
But I've actually thought about this a lot because I'm just weird. But I think I wouldn't bother me to date a stripper. Like,
No.
I don't see any difference to like any other job. Like, you do what you can to make the most amount of money. Isn't that what we're all trying to do?
Right.
And
Well, mine was to get out of debt.
Right. They found a way to do that and to like do it in a awesome way.
Right.
Good on you.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I don't know if I could date a porn star.
Yeah.
Now that's different.
That is way different.
Because I do think the job's not any different than still any other job, but I just don't know if I have the self-esteem.
We can get into that, but that's a lot of energy mixing.
Right.
And that can last within you, even one instance, for over 7 years. And if it's a bad instance, you can go through a lot of bad energy stuff. And that's why having multiple sexual partners is not healthy for you, especially if they're even just one a year, one different a year. I mean, you have 7 different energies in you after 7 years that's not getting rid of.
Listen.
And you hold on to their emotions and their problems. And now that becomes yours. And so when people, boast that they have 20, 30 partners in their lifetime, that's a lot. How about in a year? That's a ton. I can't even begin to imagine the trauma that their bodies have gone through, even if it was consensual. And most of the time it is consensual.
Right.
But
not everybody's taking those things either. Because you have to be aware of those things to let them affect you in the first place. So if you're already an empathetic, energy-driven person, which we all are, but some people aren't aware of it.
Yeah.
I feel like you're dealing with it, but you don't know you're dealing with it.
Well, right.
Because it's affecting you, and it's something you would never think about. Usually because you're having the sex for the opposite effect. It's that release and to feel better.
Correct.
And because I do think that sex is healthy.
Yes.
But yeah, like you said, like you can abuse anything.
Well, yeah. And it can be toxic.
Yeah.
Especially if you're toxic.
I've never been promiscuous. What the kids would call a demisexual.
Oh.
Just I have to have some sort of connection with somebody
with the mind.
Before I can have any kind of sexual feelings, which is nice because like then it's like what people look like attractively like changes as I learn,
as you get to know them,
learn and care about them,
and that's actually how I am as well.
Right, and I'm glad I'm that way in one sense. In the other sense, is like it's probably still awesome to have sex with people. But
the opposite can be true. You can come across somebody who's extremely attractive.
Yeah. And
then when they open up their mouth, they become completely
I've had so many
unattractive.
friends that are like, this is the hottest girl I've ever dated. And I'm like, I just don't see it, bud. She's got no personality and she's kind of a bitch.
Yeah. And is that attractive? No.
Not to me, at least. But I understand people get hung up on aesthetics.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, I don't
last.
I don't like calling people shallow. You're attracted to what you're attracted to. You're allowed to be.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do is great. As long as consenting adults, whatever. But yes, it's all so fleeting.
Yeah.
I can't get caught up in that.
Yeah.
I need you have substance. That's going to be what I'm attracted to and attached to and I want to grow with is that. Right. Not what you look like now. Oh, I'm glad you were attractive when you were 25. Like, but what happens when we're 30 or 40?
Right.
We're all gonna get
fades.
gross. Like it just happens.
Beauty fades.
Exactly. Like it evolves. And if I'm attracted to what's on the inside anyway, as cliche as it sounds, you're still gonna be gorgeous when we're 60.
Right.
Maybe I'm just an old romantic.
No, it's true. But yeah, no, going back to the whole radiation therapy thing, the prerequisite was to actually go to nuclear medicine school.
Wow.
And I was like, well, shoot, now I got to go to nuke med school.
Nuke med.
Nuke med. And the club was not working with my schedule. So I put my 2 weeks notice in and I said, I guess I'm quitting.
Is that something that's available? Was that in Chicago?
It was in Chicago.
Nuke med?
Nuke med was in
Is it part of something else?
COD, College of DuPage.
Okay.
So it was like an extended advanced certificate is really what they called it.
Yeah.
So
it's not a whole new degree?
It's an
just
advanced certificate is what they
that's-
want to call it.
Sounds
But
like
it's
a
like
lot
18 months
sounds
of,
like a lot of rhetoric.
yeah, it's 18 months of a specialized education.
Sure.
So, and they preferred you to have a bachelor's degree before you got into
Did
nuke
you
med
have a
school.
bachelor's degree
I
at
had
that
a
point? With
bachelor's.
the other thing, right?
Yeah.
Psychology?
Yeah. So then I started nuke med school and I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm going to get a real job doing real things, because I didn't feel like the strip club was real,
Well, I
I
find
mean,
that fascinating because how do you define a real job?
I mean, though that's true. A
Like,
real job, a real
if it
grown
pays
up
your
job,
bills.
a real grown up job in society standards. So
Right.
I'm still
so
brainwashed.
what you presume somebody else thinks.
What society standards
Yeah,
are
dictates.
acceptable.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Sure.
society says that
You
the
can't
strip
work in a
clubs.
strip club.
No,
Yeah.
society says.
Did
that
you
that's
even not
bad.
tell people?
No, yeah, I didn't tell a soul except for my family, my
Yeah.
mom and my dad,
Right.
because they had to know where I was at night.
Right.
Not gonna lie, especially
Yeah.
if I ever got in trouble.
Did
they
you
need
live?
to
But you
learn.
lived out there, right?
I lived in Oswego, but I was
You
living.
were commuting to Chicago.
Yeah.
Your whole career.
Well, no, I lived on campus.
Okay,
for a
yeah,
little
right.
bit. Yeah,
Okay.
that's part of the thousands of dollars
Right, that's
that
right.
I was
Yeah.
going through. Yes,
Right.
and magically, by the way, guess what happened after I started working at the club?
What?
My bipolar and my anxiety just disappeared.
When the money's coming in.
Money's
yeah.
coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm making $300 or $400 a night cash.
Probably all those pills. Yeah.
And all those bills were coming in, and magically, I was doing mentally much better.
Yeah.
Because I was able to pay as I was going through college.
That's awesome.
And that was very helpful. Now, of course, I had taken out a bunch of loans before I got the strip club job, so it made it difficult to kind of catch up. But
Yeah.
I still ended up with $60,000 in debt with all my schooling.
Well, you've also
even with the club.
You're working on your third
Right.
go at school now that you're going
Right.
to nuclear university.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like that's not the end still,
No, it is not.
because aren't you a nurse?
I am.
At some point,
At some point,
you're pivoting
I'm pivoting.
to nursing.
I am.
How many degrees are we away from that?
One.
So after you finish that certificate,
I did,
in
and I
nuclear?
tried to get a job actually
Oh.
in it.
it seems like
And
such a niche position.
It is a very niche
gotta be
position,
tough, right?
very specific. In the hospital setting, maybe 4 or 5 people in the whole hospital
per hospital. Yeah.
are in that department. So you really have to find somebody who's retiring,
Yeah.
who's wanting to leave or maybe go down to part time or
Yeah.
something. And it was really difficult.
It almost seems like you would become a nurse and kind of put that out there, hoping eventually in your career it'll open up.
Yeah. So I graduated in 2010 from Nuke School.
Yeah.
And guess what was happening at that time? The recession.
Oh yeah.
The crash of all the homes.
Mm-hmm.
There was a problem with the nuclear substances coming over Iceland because Iceland was having a volcano eruption at the
Yeah.
time. It was pretty bad.
Right.
And it was affecting all of the testing and the availability of the nuclear drugs to get inside of the United States.
Wow.
So there was a shortage. The doctors were stopping ordering some of the nuke tests. People were retiring. They were not coming out of retirement. They were actually staying and prolonging the retirement plan. And I went to Colorado to try to find a job there because I really loved Colorado. Something was speaking to me about Colorado, and I had to go.
Yeah.
So my mom and I took a road trip.
Nice.
This is very significant. And I told her, I said, give me a week. We're gonna go all around the hospitals. I'm gonna go inside the hospitals. I'm not gonna just submit a resume.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna talk to the nuclear medicine department head in each of these hospitals.
I feel like they hate that.
And I am going to see if they actually have availability and
Yeah.
if they would actually want to hire me. And I kept getting no's. Aurora, Colorado, a bunch of all these places. I went to Spring, it was the Hot Springs or whatever, Colorado Springs, and nothing. And I remember camping because I told my mom, "Oh, we'll keep this fun. We're gonna set up a tent.
Yeah.
I'll do my makeup in the one of the bathrooms.
Wow.
And listen, and
How
I'll
fun.
dress in my attire, and we're gonna have a good time."
Yeah.
Um,
So it's the first time you lied to your mom?
lied?
Yeah. You said you don't lie.
Oh, that we're gonna have a good time. No, we actually had a really good time. And along the way, we met some people in the middle of the woods. It was like 11 o'clock at night. I'll never forget it. And we had already set up our tent, but these people were coming in with their bright lights. And I'm like, it's 11 o'clock at night. What are they doing? There's no lights in sight to set up this tent that they're going to need to set up. And my mom was like, oh, we should go help them. I said, excuse me, we are in the middle of the woods in Colorado. I said, we are not going to help some strangers set up their tent. And the reason why it's significant is because it was another mother-daughter
Yeah.
cohort. And we ended up going over there and helping them set up the tent.
Yeah.
And we became really fast friends. And we ended up spending our entire rest of vacation together. Vacation, me looking for jobs,
Right.
but vacation together. And we became so bonded that I didn't want to leave her. And I felt like an instant spiritual connection to her.
Right.
And we've been best friends ever since.
Nice.
So we still keep in contact. She lives in Arizona, has 4 kids, and I live in Illinois with a couple of mine. But we became really good friends. Yeah, and then I came back home jobless and wondering what I should do next. And I thought, well, I might as well just become a nurse. I might as well go back to school.
Yeah.
The economy
Let's be careful
sucks.
with the word just.
I mean, well, I mean, when I was becoming a massage therapist, I was in classes in anatomy and physiology
Right.
and all these classes.
I say there's
with-
a lot of
there's a lot of combining
overlap, yeah.
especially with the classes. And I remember going to school with a few of the nurses that were in nursing school at Wabanzi.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, you're going to be a great nurse. I said, I am not that smart. That's what I said to them. I said, listen, I don't fly that way. I said, there's no way I could be a nurse. I don't like blood. I don't like,
Yeah.
whatever. And I said, I'm not that smart. I said, I'm going to be a massage therapist. I said, but you're going to be a great nurse. So listen, and when God tells you that you should become a nurse at that time.
Does God tell you that?
Well, I mean, he was really guiding me towards that, and I wasn't listening. I wasn't paying any
Have
attention.
you been religious your whole life?
No. It's come about later on as you're going through things.
Okay.
But I feel like, okay, a higher sense of self was telling you
It's okay if it's God.
That,
I'm not trying to take it away from you.
that you should become a nurse, and I wasn't listening. And so I feel like when you are meant to do something in your life and you don't listen,
Right.
and you just can't hear.
Sure.
You can't quiet your mind enough to listen.
Yeah.
And you diverge. Look at all these things I had to go through.
Yeah.
I went through neuroscience, I went through nuke med, and now I'm finally listening, and I'm going to nursing school. It took 10 years for
Yeah.
me to come full circle. And I'm finally starting nursing school. And then during this time, I mean, I was just working for chiropractors because I didn't want to go back to the club. I wanted a big girl job.
Right.
And I wanted something closer to home. So I was working for chiropractors as a massage therapist. And, I do here and there, and they would pay me okay. Still not what I was making, of course, at the club.
Right.
But when I got into nursing school, I realized that I couldn't even do massaging at the chiropractic place because nursing school was so intense.
Really?
So it forced me to go back to the club, and I had to go back. And I had to go back. I was 1, maybe 2 nights a week, Friday nights and Saturday nights while I was in nursing school, because there's no way I could make an income and go through all that intensity and not go back. So yeah, I went back, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Was I was able to balance and pay my way through nursing school, so I didn't end up in all that debt. Again, on top of the other debt that I was in. So
now you have a nursing degree.
And now I have a nursing degree. One thing that I would probably stick in there is that during nursing school, you're very stressed, and every 8 weeks you have a different course, and every 8 weeks you're able to fail, and the nursing administration reminds you every day that you are here, but we can fail you at any moment. And they had a 50% fail rate at Wabanzi. So they actually...
I can't stand when places will wear that as a badge of honor.
Well, they do.
It's so stupid.
And so it made you nervous all the time, made you stressed. So I ended up getting so stressed out during maternity nursing where it's OB-GYN. So it's like, all the baby stuff, that I failed 2 exams by like 1 or 2%.
Wow.
And they failed me. They kicked me out of the program.
Really?
Yes. And they
Is
said...
Is that mandatory, a prerequisite?
Yes,
you have to
prerequisite.
Go through that?
Yeah. So that was... and I think like 7 people failed that class with me because it was pretty...
So you had to take it again or what?
I had to reapply. So I waited 3 months. And then I had to reapply and I got back in.
Wow.
And I just had to retake the course. And because I was able to rest for 3 months and recuperate, I was able to get back in. And I rocked it after that. Oh my God. It was the rest I needed. And so God shows you certain things in your life and you think, oh, damn it. This is a bad thing. This is happening in my life. And what really it is just a breath of fresh air for you to come back stronger and better. So when life knocks you down, you're right back up. At least that's how I feel like it is. But anyway, we got right back into nursing school, went into critical care the next class, and I loved critical care. I liked people dying in front of my eyes and reviving them.
Right.
I thought this was the best place for me to learn.
Oh, I get it. You have a God complex.
No.
I see now.
Yeah.
Connecting the dots.
Yeah. No, so I really wanted to learn, and I was fascinated with people that were on their last leg and on their way out to see God, and we were trying to keep them. And it was all about, balancing that. And right out of nursing school, I went straight into the ICU. They hired me right into critical care in Hoffman Estates.
Wow.
And that was crazy. I was like, oh, you're hiring a new grad right out of nursing school?
So I always think that's a better idea.
And to them it was, because you're trainable. You don't have any bad habits.
And that's my thing is like whenever I would apply for jobs too, and they'd be like, well, usually we hire internally. Why should we hire you? And I'm like, because I don't have any bad habits.
Yeah.
I'm a fresh sponge. And I will do what you say 100% of the time because that's all I'm going to know.
Yep.
You can bring somebody else that's got 10 years of cutting corners and bad habits.
Yep. That's exactly what they were going
Also,
for.
they're not... Good luck trying to change an employee that's that old, that's been there that long.
Yep.
Because every job evolves, but they're still stuck in their ways.
Yep. That's exactly what they thought.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah.
But that was... So, the ICU...
Yeah.
Now you've got all your degrees.
Yes. And I'm in the ICU.
And you're in the ICU in Hoffman Estates.
Yeah.
So that now your education's done?
Yeah.
Other than like you got to keep up on stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like normal.
Yeah.
Like your education's never done.
Yeah.
And you like to learn in general, so you're always you're always like not good enough. I stress myself.
I wonder what that's all about. What kind of life lesson is that I'm not learning? Yeah.
But you're not in Hoffman Estates now. Mm-mm. You're at Loyola? Mm-hmm. Are you still in the ICU? Mm-mm. What do you...
I do all cardiac. I'm all cardiac testing.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So are you just considered an RN then?
Yes.
Versus whatever...
I mean, I have a BSN, a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So I eventually did more schooling after... online to get my bachelor's degree in nursing, so that way I can have that.
Now, does that also give you a pay bump?
It was supposed to,
but it didn't.
No.
It didn't, but it should have.
Yeah.
Why didn't it?
I don't know. Why don't you ask the gods that be over the administration of who controls the amount of money that is given to employees?
I feel like you should ask them.
Yeah. It was, and that's also another hard pill to swallow when they're telling you you're going to make $40,000 or $50,000 more over the course of your life or whatever because you have a bachelor's degree. It's fucking bullshit.
Is it?
Because they didn't give me a dollar more for what I went through, and how much of debt did I go into for that bachelor's degree?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's like 20 to 40 grand each degree you went for.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And did society give me what was promised? No.
Oh, society?
Well, society. That's society. Society told me that if I get my
I get
degree,
you.
that I'm
Yeah.
going to get more money.
Sure.
And that is the pill that everyone likes to swallow and is completely not true and completely fucking false. Just because you have a higher degree does not mean you're going to earn more money.
Sure.
And doesn't mean you deserve a job either.
You still have
All
to
these
have,
kids are coming out of school thinking that they deserve a job because they have this big fancy degree, and that's
again,
false.
that's what society has told them.
Right.
Yeah, they're in for a rude awakening
Yeah.
for sure. Like when I think about it in general, any of my friends that have a degree, most of them aren't doing whatever that field is,
Yeah.
which is silly. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff that I'm just interested in. I would love to learn about, but I can do that on my own.
Yeah.
I don't need a piece of paper
No.
to.
No, especially a government piece of paper. That means absolutely
Yeah.
nothing.
But you seem to have a real case to the ass against the government.
Oh, I was fed a bunch of lies, and I'm tired of the bullshit.
Fed a bunch of lies.
Yeah. Spoon fed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking that education makes you an overall better person.
Well, right.
And it doesn't.
Nothing makes anybody above anybody else.
No.
That's why I like when we were talking before about keeping everybody even.
Yeah.
If you take these certain aspects out of it, it keeps it even.
Right.
And everybody has the same opportunity.
Right.
That's what I'm into. Obviously, it can become problematic.
Yeah.
But, so you've done this now for a
10
long
years.
time. Yeah, the last 10 years.
11.
And I feel, well, when I initially asked you on the show, you're like, I'm talking about a lot of controversial stuff. And I was like,
Well, nothing's come up
okay.
really yet.
Well, I feel like we're about to get into it because you worked during the pandemic.
I did.
And I feel like you have a unique perspective because you're 100% at ground zero to really see the ins and outs that the rest of us are speculating on and
Yes.
trying to figure out, weeding through what's accurate and what's inaccurate.
Right.
Not that your opinion is the be all end all by
No,
any means.
no.
But
Mine's just an opinion.
Exactly.
By the way.
But from your perspective, is
Yes.
at least a little closer than mine would be just reading bullshit off the internet.
Right.
Because I have plenty of friends that are anti-vax and anti-5G and anti
Yeah.
all this stuff, and then I have plenty of other friends that are pro-vax.
Right.
And honestly, I don't have much of an opinion because I do think when it comes to eradicated diseases,
Yes.
that makes sense to
Continue that.
vaccinate for that.
Correct.
That makes sense. But I've been a person, again, personally, and again, neither one of us is telling other people what to think. This is just our own dumb opinions. I want to preface that because I don't really care for real.
Right.
But I do want to talk about it.
Sure.
Because I've never gotten a flu shot.
Okay.
I don't think that there's a reason to get a flu shot.
No.
It doesn't.
Well, it's 30% effective when it's actually effective.
Right.
And
Exactly.
they have to predict the strain a year ahead of time
Yes.
on what strain is actually going to be affecting
Right.
you.
But
personally.
that same mentality made me not want to do any vaccinating for
Well, yeah.
COVID because I'm like, it's the same thing. You already told me it's a strain of that anyways.
Yeah.
So why? Eventually, that's just going to be in this.
Right.
And I'm already avoiding this.
Right.
So why would I? I eventually had to.
Well, it prevents you from being off the ventilator. That's what they told you. So why wouldn't you take it if it's going to prevent
I never
your
believed
death?
that in the first place.
You didn't believe that? How
No,
come?
because where I live.
You were going to not be able to spread it to others.
Yeah.
You were supposed to be vaccinated to protect your
Yeah.
neighbor.
Well,
to protect grandma.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
why are you being so selfish on not being vaccinated?
She's not being serious. She's playing the role of society and the news.
I'm telling you.
But that's why they kept being over your head. But I gave it all up. I already hated the idea because like I said, I wasn't a flu shot guy. But once they told me that they had to wear masks to prevent spreading it, I hate wearing a mask.
Well, it was the wrong mask.
Well,
by
that's the
way.
thing. The second that they said, and these numbers are incorrect, but just for the point of argument,
Yes.
when they tell me that the bacteria is 1 micron and the mask is 3 microns, I'm not wearing this fucking mask. It's not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then the stupidity of people
Yeah.
who are like, I just put my shirt over.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Oh God.
oof.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, from your perspective, what does that look like, and what have you dealt with?
Well, it came about in 19.
Yeah.
20,
Are you
2020.
vaccinated?
I am not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
My mom made such a stink about basically forced me to get the first 2 shots.
Oh.
Because she's immune compromised and has
See?
and all this
You
stuff. And I'm like,
you love your mother, right?
right.
So you need to do that for her.
But that's
what
what
she's thinking.
It's taken me years that I'm finally like, listen, what they're telling you and what's reality is different. And again, I'm like, you have to remember that they're coming from a business standpoint. And it's like, oh, well, but the thing is, free. I'm like, I understand, but you're missing the big picture.
Yeah.
There's way more happening.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. No. And the reason why I'm not is because I ended up getting pregnant in 2020.
Oh.
With my second kid.
Second.
And I purposefully got pregnant because I knew the vaccine was coming.
Yeah.
And I knew they were going to force us as healthcare workers
to
get it.
Really?
I knew it.
You thought far into it.
I did. And this was in August,
Have you
September.
do you have 2 sons?
I have a daughter and a son.
Who's that one? Who's the oldest?
The one
or
who's
the newest?
The newest is a son.
Yeah. Have you told your son that he's only here because of COVID?
No. Well, he's here because I also wanted a sibling for Kaylani.
Okay. So it's like a twofer.
It was a twofer. And I thought, you know what? There's no way they're going to force me as a pregnant lady to
Yeah.
get a vaccine that is experimental and
Right.
hasn't been done and performed.
Sure.
And boy, was I fucking wrong, by the way.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have to fight?
Oh, hardcore. Just like a regular person. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't pregnant.
Right.
Yeah. I had no rights, Yeah.
Well, you're a woman.
Well.
In general, you don't have rights.
Come on. We all have the same rights. It's perceived lack of rights that we think that we have as women. We all have the same rights as men.
Well, we're still only in the first 100 days. Tell me that in 4 years. We'll see where you're at.
All right, we'll see. But back to the vaccine stuff. So, I knew in 2020 that it was going to come because I knew in what was it? When did I start seeing that stuff? It was March.
So there's a documentary about coronavirus from like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
so
they were preparing.
It's not a new thing.
No. They were
like when people were like, "Oh, the vaccine came out of nowhere." Like,
no,
not
it didn't.
necessarily.
No,
we're working on it a long time.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's ready to go.
No,
and
but it means it was being practiced. I mean,
right.
You have to have some sort of practice with it for 5 to 10 years.
Sure, before you can even show it to the public. Yeah.
So this emergency use authorization
Yeah.
allows them to inoculate you and not have any repercussions.
Yeah. I think we're starting to see that now. There's definitely been...
Oh, immediately.
You think really?
I saw
Were you seeing it immediately?
And it's because I worked in the heart department, specifically.
Yeah?
At Loyola. Yeah.
Really? In what way?
So we started inoculations for the workers in December of 2020. So we were the first ones to get it.
Yeah.
And I thought, why? We're not the sickest.
Right.
Yes, we're exposed.
Sure.
But why are the sick and the elderly not the first ones to get it?
Right.
I said, that doesn't make any sense. Most healthcare professionals are younger.
Right.
20s, 30s, 40s. We have an immune system.
Yeah. You also have to be a certain level of exposure to keep that immune system. Correct. Right.
And we all know that immune system comes from within. Yeah. And if you do not have a good, healthy body, you're going to be more susceptible to disease. So why not start with the sick and the elderly? Right. They did it, I think, strategically, specifically to the healthcare system, to promote vaccine safety. Mm-hmm. Oh, everyone is getting vaccinated. Don't worry, your doctor's vaccinated. Your nurse that's taking care of you is vaccinated. Yeah. Everybody that is comes from a professional, high regard, upper echelon is vaccinated. So don't worry, it's safe. Yeah. Don't worry. No problem. Right. And so they wanted to have a sense of safety. And then it started coming out with January, February, March. Regular people started getting vaccinated. I'll call them regular people. Yeah. People that are non-medical started finally getting them. Yeah. And I remember in March of 2021, and I was getting people coming in with one shot, and they were in between their second shot, because you have to get your second shot within 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I was seeing people in between their first and their second. Yeah. And they were coming in with chest pain, chest pressure, shortness of breath was also a main one. And they're like, this is just coming out of nowhere. And they come in for a stress test. I got to get them on my treadmill. And at first, I was thinking I was going to be finding stuff on these people. But because it's COVID, It doesn't give you heart disease.
Right.
It just gives you heart inflammation.
Yeah.
And we didn't know that that's what it was. It didn't come out yet about pericarditis or myocarditis or any of the inflammations that we're seeing now. But that's what we would put them on a heart echo, and you can see the inflammation on the sac of the heart, and you could literally see
that visible.
It's that visible.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, it's putting pressure on your heart. Your heart needs to pump harder and faster. Of course, you're going to have chest pressure. Of course, you're going to have chest pain, and of course, you're not going to be able to breathe. Your lungs sit right there with all that added pressure. You're not going to. All your symptoms are self-explanatory.
Right.
And now we know it came out in April. Fauci came out and admitted that these poor boys, you remember these poor boys, 14, 15, younger boys, were getting pericarditis.
Yeah.
And I thought, what about my male adults that are 20 and 30 and 40?
Yeah.
These are young people coming in with heart issues, the same exact ones as these younger kids. And they're not expressing that it's happening in all of them.
Right.
All of my people. And yes, it happened in females, but not as much as the males.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's happening in my older population too. But why? Why was this happening? And it was just pissing me off. And I wish I would have wrote a book. I wish I wrote it down, how many people were coming in and how many shots they had.
Yeah. The numbers were staggering.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing too, is I started seeing from people, not just like hearsay, but people that I knew.
Yeah.
Like my friend Katie out in California, like she was involved where somebody went in and for one thing and then died, and on the death certificate they changed it to COVID.
You want to talk about that?
Were you
Sure, gunshot victims.
You see that?
Getting shot. We're in Chicago.
Yeah. So this is one of the things that
COVID death.
I tried to prove to my mom, because my mom's stuck on the news. And I get the idea. You want to be able to trust the news.
Yeah.
But I've been like, the news is a business.
Yeah.
A man owns that news and has an agenda.
Yeah.
And he needs it to make money.
Well.
But I was like, but she's like, well, they're saying that the deaths are overwhelming. They've got bodies in the coolers. Like, they're just, I'm like, there's a hospital right across the street. There's nothing there. Go talk to a nurse. Yeah. And she did, because she had a kidney stone during COVID. And she was terrified to go to the hospital.
Oh, yeah, but they all are. They all were. No one was going to the ER.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she went and talked to the nurse, and the nurse was like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
None of that is true. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, stop listening to the TV. Mm-hmm. Like, talk to a person.
Yeah.
Like, just investigate it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that it's reality, but look outside of America for American news. Mm-hmm. That's the only way you're going to get any kind of real information.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a fear campaign.
Right. But my question, too, is, because you legitimately you saw non-COVID things being written off as COVID things.
And do you want to know why?
To inflate those numbers.
No.
Like,
well, yes.
But beyond that.
But beyond that, the real reason.
Oh, they were getting the money, right?
The government was spewing money.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, just bleeding money.
Bleeding money. These nurses who were vaccinated were leaving in droves to go to other hospitals that were paying $10,000 a week.
Right.
I'm serious.
See, that's what I'm curious
$10,000
about,
a week,
because that helped the story when they started talking about nurse shortages and transferring them around.
They were leaving in droves.
And you're like, but there's not a real thing happening.
No.
But they were getting so much money to go.
So yes, it was real. Yes, there were sick people. People were sick with COVID.
Yeah. But we're not saying it was what they built it to.
Correct.
That's different.
Correct.
Because if you look at human history in general, every 10 to 15 years, we have some sort of epidemic.
But this was purposeful.
But what I'm saying is true, right? You know, from the medical field.
Yes.
There's always some sort of epidemic around the corner and in the last 10 years.
Yes.
It's not new.
No.
This one they managed to manufacture beautifully.
Beautiful.
From the outside looking in, my God, well done.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what I always wonder.
Less than 1% of the population dead. I mean, it was a very low death rate.
Yeah, and I understand that affects you at an individual level. And I don't mean to be insensitive.
No.
But as far as it being an epidemic, mild.
Yeah.
At best.
So but I think the Black Plague had like a 30% death rate or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
what I wonder is, what was the point? Because to me, and again, now we're going to do a little conspiracy theory absurdity. What was the point? And to me, is some sort of, it feels like it was like a test run. Because, okay, we can.
Well, who's going to comply?
Well, but like realistically, though, if you look at what was the point, okay, we got these weird chemicals in our bodies, but like it's nothing aside from those side effects.
Yeah.
What was it? Nothing really affected anything. What was the point of all of it? It's just just a bunch of rhetoric.
There's a lot. I mean, part of
there?
it is population control.
But the deaths weren't what they were saying they were.
No, not from COVID, from the vaccine.
Oh, you think so?
Oh yeah.
In what way?
Well, it depends on how many you get too. I think it compounds. The
That's
more
where
you
I finally
get.
put my foot down. After 2, I was like,
yeah,
because I told my mom when it started, I was like, they've already said you need 2.
Yeah.
By the time you get the second one, they tell you you need a third one.
Yeah.
And they're gonna keep adding them, and then
Yeah.
eventually it's just gonna be part of the flu shot.
Yeah.
I'm not playing bullshit.
Yeah. Now, I don't know the future. Honestly, we don't know anything about these vaccines, and I don't pretend to know everything. In my opinion, from what I've seen, and the people that are coming in sicker than they were before the vaccines are 3 or more. When you get 3 or more, I have seen a lot of more complications coming in through
What do you mean 3 or more?
3 or more vaccines
Okay.
of COVID.
Is it the same stuff you were seeing before, just to the next, like, with the same respiratory problems in the heart?
But more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're seeing like turbo cancers, colorectal cancer.
Turbo cancers, is that a thing? It just sounds like a fast-acting cancer.
It's when you say, "Oh, I'm not feeling good." Oh, you've got stage 4.
Okay.
Oh,
so
shit.
literally from okay to like practically dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
And no hope in that respect.
I wish
and
they
young.
called it super cancer. That's just me though.
and mostly colorectal is what we're finding inside. And you don't have the symptoms until
Colon and rectal cancer,
cancers. Yeah, colon,
which are already incredibly on the rise.
Yes.
So that if you artificially inflate those, nobody's gonna really notice. So you think that was the thing is?
I mean, you saw a ton of people. I hate to say it too. We saw a ton of healthy individuals, especially soccer players, falling on the middle of the field in cardiac arrest with
Really?
unknown causes, unknown reasons why they would be in cardiac arrest.
And you believe that was based on the thing?
On how many shots they had, yes.
Yeah. So.
Because it affects heart inflammation.
Right.
And when you have.
And you 100%
I 100% saw that.
That is a fact you've seen.
Yes, but specifically with soccer players, you're in a more intense cardiovascular rate because you're running back and forth. And your heart can go into an irregular rhythm. Right. And that's basically if you don't have a defibrillator out on that field, they're gonna die. Yeah. And so if you're not shocking, you can do CPR all day long on someone like that and they will not live.
Yeah.
You need to be shocking them out of it because it's a shockable rhythm usually.
Yeah.
And
is
people
that
don't know
how
that.
it works? So if you start, because just from the exertion of the physicality
with the inflammation,
right, your heart starts going off of the normal rhythm.
It can.
And the shock literally brings it back.
It back.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's
it
awesome.
can.
Right,
Not that all the time it can.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, sometimes you are flatlined, and that is not a shockable rhythm,
Yeah.
and you do have to do CPR.
Yeah.
But for someone so young, it can just get jarred, and I think it just can go into.
How long do you have to see those things before you can realistically correlate that?
It's a good question.
I can't imagine. Were you just against it from the jump? Or
I was apprehensive about it from the
which
jump.
is healthy. Everybody should be apprehensive.
I was
of
questioning it,
Questions
but I
are
wasn't.
good.
I'm not an anti-vax. I'm fully vaccinated with everything else.
We were talking about before,
I was
right?
born
Measles
and raised in the
whatever.
medical field. Okay.
Do you get a flu shot?
I was. I had gotten one
before. Does this kind of put you off? That?
Oh, for sure. I haven't gotten anything injected in me since 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my last flu shot.
Yeah, I gotta think that you're not a nut job who just thinks this stuff.
You
guys
converted.
talk about this.
I was converted. Well, during my time.
Well, seeing it firsthand.
Yeah.
But you work in a hospital also with a bunch of other nurses. Is this the consensus?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you're still unique.
I'm not unique.
You saw the same things.
So
but they don't think the same way?
I'm like 20. We're like 20-30%. Okay.
So the other 70%
is like full on, yeah. But by the time they had their third one, they all questioned it and no one really got a fourth in my department.
Okay.
So the ones that were on board initially
Yes.
got 1, 2, 3.
Sure.
And then was like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't even helping. And we're
Right.
seeing it not help. And we're seeing people still be able to
Do
spread.
you think that is that higher than the 20% then?
And I think
by the
it's-
third shot, is that
Listen,
closer
by
to
the
100?
third shot, it's closer to 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's huge.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because nobody, I mean, I wouldn't say nobody. Maybe like one person got like
Sure.
4 or 5. I mean, some people are on 10. I'm not going to lie.
Hold on. You can get 10?
You can get 10. You can get as many as you fucking want.
Wow. Wow.
Why does that surprise anybody? I mean, you
I'm
can go
surprised.
and get like one every 3 months if you want. You can get one once a month.
I like the idea.
No one's
of,
gonna
like,
track that.
Just daily being, gotta get my daily shot.
Yeah.
I'm so immune to everything.
Yeah. Patients are literally coming in, and it says on their chart, when you open up their chart, they're overdue in bright red letters for dose 10.
Yeah.
Or you should ask them if they want their 10th dose.
Are they still free?
I don't know.
I feel like at some point they stopped becoming free.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm making that up completely.
No, I mean, it could be. I mean,
Yeah.
or it could be money. I don't know. I mean, I think you can go to Walgreens and get your flu and COVID shot for free. I think.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'd be curious if they just keep throwing them at you in general, or if at some point it's like, okay, we've given you a taste, like a heroin addict.
Yeah.
Here's a taste. Now
Yeah.
we need
Yeah.
your VCR.
Yeah.
And stuff like
Well,
that.
I mean, I know doctors are still encouraging it, especially for like September, October, like before flu season and all
Yeah.
that stuff, before COVID season.
Right.
They always encourage, especially now that you can get like a double. You
Does
know.
it annoy you that they're gonna call it COVID season now? It used
I
to be.
don't find it annoying. I find it annoying that doctors
It's
are getting
misleading.
kickbacks from insurance companies
See, that's
by promoting.
But I thought that was
inoculations.
because that used to happen in general.
Yeah.
But Obama signed a bill that outlawed that. Does it not include these sorts of? If that might have only been like actual medication drugs, not vaccines.
Correct.
That's
And
slimy.
that includes that
That's
includes
slimy.
childhood vaccines. I'm sorry to say.
Did they get
They get
kickback
kickbacks
for that?
Yeah. You have to be on time though. So for parents that want to separate their shots,
Yeah.
they kick them out of the practice
Really?
because they're not on time, and they ruin their
I think
percentage.
it's better to wait
It is.
to not do them all at once, right?
Well, your immune system, for
Right.
God's
It's
sake,
overloaded, right?
you need some time to heal. If you're gonna do it, ban it out.
Yeah.
But the problem is doctors will kick you out of their practice for that. Yeah.
Do you find is there a breakdown between the nurses' opinions and the doctors' opinions? Like, do the doctors still believe in this?
Well, do they believe in it, or are they getting money?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I mean,
are
of
they
course-
just? They're not
of course
dumb
they're
enough
gonna.
to tell you.
They're not gonna.
Right.
They're not gonna say if they believe in it or not. When they're getting $20,000 and $30,000 bonuses from their practices quarterly for inoculating children on time, they don't really get paid to have an opinion whether or not that's good or not.
Right. Okay. That's depressing.
Sorry,
No,
but
no.
also too with COVID, I mean, some doctors were getting like $1 million because
Yeah.
their practice was so big, and
Well,
then if they got certain amounts of
I think it's important to talk about because again, we're not experts. I
No.
mean, you're close to it, but
No, and
this
even
is
I
all-
don't know.
and
This is all
speculative.
for sure.
But like, but that's why it should be looked into.
Yeah.
And that's why it needs to be talked about to looked into.
Yeah.
Because I am not telling anybody not to vaccinate. Like,
No,
do what
no,
you're
you do
comfortable
what
with.
you listen. I am almost like a libertarian to where I want you to be able to do what you want to do,
Yeah.
as long as you don't hurt others.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, this
and
is one of the things that you just said you're a libertarian. Consider yourself a libertarian. This is one of the things because I've never been part of any group. I just don't like any of them. But I've always been incredibly liberal because I just think it's the correct way to look at life.
Yeah.
Because we tend to politicize things that shouldn't be politicized.
Correct.
And I'm all for people doing whatever they want.
Yeah.
So I've always been overtly liberal. This is one of the things, particularly where I was like, you're not making sense. What you're saying and the way you're just not bending over, but I don't want to be that graphic, but the way you're just rolling over on this and attacking anybody that asks questions is weird.
Me?
No.
Oh.
Who I would normally consider very liberal people.
Oh, yes.
Where I'm like, what? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Like,
you should be able to ask questions.
on
You should be
everything, yeah.
able to ask your doctor,
And there
how
should be
much are you
answers.
getting? How much incentives are you getting by me you providing this service to me and me complying with what you want.
Yeah.
That should be free and available to everybody looking at this.
I agree. It's another, what we said before, transparency.
Yeah. And again, guess who funds the bonuses? Who funds it? Who do you think funds?
Insurance companies? Mm-hmm. Right.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
Because they're making the most.
They're
making it hand over fist. Yeah. So, obviously the next logical question is this. How do you do it every day?
Well,
do you have to literally take it down to the individual level where I'm still helping people. You're still helping people.
I am.
And that's great. And just because the system's broken doesn't mean you're not needed.
Correct. And I do my best to try to educate as much as I can in the moment that I have with them.
Do you educate or do you just tell them this is all stupid and all broken?
No, I try to be as delicate and dainty as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So I had an 18-year-old female on my treadmill that wanted to go to college, and she needed her vaccines in order to go to college because they would not accept her on campus. And she comes in with POTS, which is basically an increased heart rate that she can't control, like 120s. I'm talking like really, 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 really fast. She can't breathe. She can't go from here to the bathroom without having to pause. She can't go walk on campus because she's not able to function. When she lays down in bed and she stands up, she gets dizzy because she has no blood pressure because her heart rate is so high.
A lot of these things are happening to me. But I figured it was just because I was fat.
Not necessarily. Okay. Don't blame anything on overweight or age. Okay, because it's not true.
Really?
Not usually. I mean, maybe. I mean, I have to see the situation. Everyone's different. Yeah. Okay. Of course, you're more susceptible to things because you're older and you're overweight, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the actual.
It's only okay when I say it.
Right.
Not you.
Not me.
You don't say I'm overweight.
No, I don't say that word.
You say I'm a handsome man. I can say it.
No, but this poor girl, and her dad is sitting out there outside of the room, and she's on the treadmill, and I know that she's been vaccinated 2 or 3 times, and I know that she has no other comorbidities, which means she's not diagnosed with anything else. She's in perfect, healthy condition.
Right.
And she's having these problems. And I know it's from the vaccine.
Yeah.
So how do I say it without saying it?
Right.
Because I can't say it.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty shunnable for even a healthcare professional to say, hey, why did you get those 3 vaccines?
Why are you saying it here?
Here?
Yeah.
Maybe because I feel comfortable with you.
Well, is it going to hurt you later?
Will it? I don't know.
Are you asking me?
Will it? I have no idea. I'm just telling you my truth, and it feels fucking good to tell the truth.
Well, I think it's an important truth. Like I said, I think we're also been smart enough. We're not spewing facts. We're connecting dots that we.
Well,
that
and these are still opinions technically because nothing's been proven.
Yeah. What we need is a test group. We need like a dozen more nurses.
But it's like my coworkers, the ones that are awake, can see the same things that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And so we're all in agreement about what hey, Ashley, you would have liked that last one. That one had POTS too, and that one's from, blah, blah, blah. And we know.
Right.
And then I told her dad, I said, listen, we don't know where this is coming from. Why she's so sick.
Yeah.
And I really am going to encourage you to not give her any more vaccinations that could interfere with her progress of healing.
Right.
We don't want to upset her body flow and so I was trying to explain to him, hey, we don't really know what's going on, but don't add anything to the mix.
Right.
Okay. Let's try to figure this out a little further. And he said, do you think it could be from the vaccines? I said, well, we don't know anything about these vaccines. We don't know any information. It was emergency use authorization, and we just kind of went ahead with it. Yeah. And I said, and it was required for her to get into college and to take college courses. It was mandatory,
right,
or else she wasn't able to be on campus. So how are you going to tell somebody to get something that you know nothing about? And I said, we don't know what the long-term effects are. So for now, I would just refrain from even like the flu shot and stuff. Just stop doing things that could harm her further. That's all. And I said, take that with a grain of salt. I said, I'm a nurse. I
Right.
said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not her doctor. I'm not your doctor. But we've been seeing some things coming in, especially with the heart and inflammation.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I can do. And I don't see these people afterwards. I only see them for their test. And then they go about their day.
Yeah. But nurses are so much more important. I feel like they're slowly starting to get their due now.
Yeah.
As society is like, man, nurses are pretty important. But like, because, you know, you barely get to see your doctor.
Oh, for 15 minutes, if you're lucky. And
barely-
he's already thinking about someone else, not
right.
even you.
He barely wants to listen to you. He's going to just throw bullshit at you. Like he just said, most of which he's being incentivized for.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a broken system there. And nurses do 100% of the work. Like, it's insane. It's just a really fudged up system, right?
Yeah.
So it's amazing to me that you go back to work ever.
Well, it's hard.
Maybe
I'm not
after
gonna
this you
lie.
won't.
I mean, it is a sick care system. We wait
Yeah.
for people to get sick and then we treat them.
Right.
We do
Instead of
not
keeping
catch them.
healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
And our goal, honestly, is not to make you healthy.
No.
Because why would we want to do that?
Well, sustainability creates dollars.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Especially primary care physicians, unfortunately, I'm going to bash them. They have the power of a pad, and that's all they have.
Yeah.
They have a prescription
But,
pad, and
not
that's
for
it.
nothing though. I'm going back to saying that. Not for nothing. Our society is looking for a quick fix.
Well,
So they're partnered so well.
no, that's true.
It's going to take a couple generations to get out of that if we had a solution now.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
When your kids, we know that you're not married. When did you meet your boyfriend?
2011.
2011?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And when you had your first kid?
2017.
2017. 6 years you guys dated. That was a long time.
It was a long time. I got pregnant in 2016. And that's what helped me quit my ICU job because I just couldn't deal with the stress of the pregnancy and all that.
Yeah, it affects the baby.
It does affect the baby. Yeah. And I quit when she was 8 months old. I tried to come back, and there was an incident that happened that I had to go through a lot of therapy for, but we didn't get a chance to talk about. And that's
do you
what
mean
I
you
quit.
don't want to talk about?
I mean, it's anytime I talk to people about it, it really makes people feel that our healthcare system isn't what it is, and
I
what
think
I've
we
seen.
just covered that pretty good.
No, it gets worse. It gets way worse than this COVID.
But this
stuff.
is something that happened to you?
No, it's pretty much to my patient, but
Oh,
I was
okay.
involved with
And it
it because I was
affected you.
I was
Right.
taking care of her, and I had to do a lot of things that I shouldn't have had to do as a nurse.
Really?
Yeah.
Where are those kind of, like, do you mind telling us? Because I'm curious where those lines are. Because at the end of the day, it feels like the nurses do everything.
Oh, well, we just
But there's probably very clear lines what they're supposed to do and not supposed to do.
correct. We're the last line of defense for my. Let's say you were my patient.
Yeah.
And I was taking care of you. I am the last person of defense for you before you get any medication,
Yeah.
before you get any procedures done. I need to make sure that what the doctor ordered is correct,
Right.
is accurate.
So you're really the one advocating for the patient.
Well, yeah, because I'm giving you what the orders are.
Right.
And if I blindly follow these orders, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Not that the doctors are purposefully doing
Sure.
things negligently.
But it's literally life and death.
It can be.
Yeah.
Yes. They can order the wrong dose. They could order the wrong medication. How about the right medication on the wrong patient?
Right.
That's happened before. You get in the
Yeah.
wrong chart. Oops, I
Yeah.
ordered this thing, and if the nurse just says, "Oh, the doctor ordered this, let me just give it to you,"
Yeah.
you can
That's
be in
bad.
pretty big trouble
Right.
if the nurse isn't thinking for herself.
Yeah.
Especially in a critical care moment. So my career ender as an ICU nurse was a 28-year-old female that had a scheduled C-section. Her baby was just too big. She had 2 other babies. And it was scheduled for like 7 o'clock in the morning. No big deal.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
I don't like to say C-section. I like to say they were having a zipper installed.
A zipper.
It makes it convenient for the next baby.
Yeah. So everything went, I guess, fine for her. I mean, I'm a night shift nurse, so I didn't get on till like 7 o'clock p.m.
Yeah.
And so I didn't hear about her until the evening. But apparently she had been what's called tachycardic all day. So her heart rate was high and her heart rate was like 110, 120. And they were giving her some blood. Her hemoglobin was low. So what you test is for hemoglobin is how many blood cells you have inside of you, basically. Yeah. And you need a certain amount of hemoglobin in order to live. Right. Okay. Yeah. And when you give birth, you lose a little bit of blood. That's normal, especially if you have like a lot of blood. Sometimes you can lose a lot during, and then that can be normal to get blood.
There's also tearing and stuff.
Tearing, yeah.
I guess not in a C-section.
Not in a C. You actually, they do tear you. They rip you.
Really?
Yeah, so they only cut you a little bit and then they rip you further. They got one doctor on one side, one doctor on the other, and they rip.
I don't like
because they don't want to hurt the baby. So they don't cut too deep. So they rip the fascia. It's pretty actually barbaric to see one if you ever saw one.
Yeah, those are the kind of things that they save us from. Like,
yes,
you've
with
never
the
seen
sheets,
that.
right? Because even the dads, they protect them from the sheet. That's why they have that
even
up.
the dads don't
even
see
the
that
dads
anymore.
don't see it. It's barbaric.
I wouldn't want to.
Sometimes they put the guts on top of the mother's stomach to get to the baby.
Even hearing you talk about it, like watching you do the motion mime, I'm like,
yeah, it's what moms go through is pretty incredible stuff. Human life is just incredible as it is. But,
it is incredible, but I don't want to see most of it.
Yeah.
But as you were saying.
Yeah, no. So I get a report from her. She went back to surgery at like 10 p.m. So
would they do the C-section with that elevated heart?
She didn't have an elevated heart rate at the time. It came after the C-section. Yeah. So she had an elevated heart all day after the C-section, and then had gotten blood after the C-section, and it wasn't going away.
Right.
And her hemoglobin kept coming back either as the same or lower, even after the blood transfusion, which is a bad sign. So they knew that they needed to take her back into surgery and reopen her. Oh, no. So they took her back in emergently. Ripped her back open. Probably actually cut her because the baby's no longer in there, so they probably did it correctly. But they couldn't find the source of the bleed because she was bleeding internally, and they were really, really trying to find the bleed. They decided
that's got to be so hard because it's all red in there and raw and
vessels are small, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know
if I feel like the smallest thing could leak like a sieve, right?
Yes. And an artery is an artery, whether it's small or big. One just leaks a little bit slower than the other, but they're all bad.
That's crazy.
It's bad. So I was getting report that they were sewing her up and they were leaving her ventilated on a ventilator. And I was like, why? She's 28. Why aren't they taking her off of the ventilator? Why am I, getting her? I got report that they took out her whole uterus because they couldn't find the bleed. So they just took everything out. Wow. So she's no longer able to have children.
That's a decision.
It was a very critical, a very raw decision. But they do that. They do that when they think you're bleeding internally and they don't know where it's coming from. They just take your uterus.
Wow, it makes me infuriated because. Sorry, I was also thinking the word furious. That's why I said that. But it's crazy to me because, as a woman, because I've had friends that have experienced this, when you go in and say, I need to have my uterus removed because it's literally trying to kill me, and they're like, no, you're not allowed. And then this thing when they're like, I don't know what's wrong with it, just take your uterus.
Well, because they think the source of the bleed is from the uterus.
What a crocky shit though, man. Like, it's just such a weird little thing like that. It's absurd.
Mm-hmm. So they sew her back up, and the surgeon comes up to me. He's like, I'm going to give you my cell phone number. It's midnight.
Yeah. And
he's like, call me if there's any further complications. And I said, okay, her blood pressure, her heart rate's like 140 now. Her blood pressure's tanking. It's like 80 over something, which is horrible. They're giving her blood at the time because they came from the OR giving blood, and her blood pressure's coming up as the blood is flowing into her, and I'm feeling a little better about that. And mind you, I have another patient.
Yeah.
Because I'm ICU, I have 2 patients.
Right.
And this is not my only critical patient.
Oh, no.
But this patient needed my undivided time.
Yeah.
For 6 hours. Because she was so sick.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to let a healthy 28-year-old die.
Right.
From having a baby.
Right.
So I ended up getting more blood, more saline. I'm coming on from both sides of her body, and I'm shoving blood and saline into her to make her blood pressure and her heart rate go up, because I know that she just had surgery. She probably lost a lot of blood.
Yeah.
I need to replace that.
Well, she had a leak also. And they took her uterus.
Yeah. And I'm putting blood pressure cuffs on the blood to make it go faster. So I'm
Wow.
literally pumping. And the saline, I'm just pumping it into her. It's like a mass transfusion that I was doing with her. And anytime that blood went in, my blood pressure was like borderline like 90s. It was beautiful. It was like the best. But the problem is she was having a lot of anxiety. And I couldn't give her anything for anxiety or pain because it would make her blood pressure low. Ugh. So I had to keep her in a confused, like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I'm on a vent. Why is this thing down my throat? And why is this machine breathing for me?
Yeah.
And I had to tilt her upside down because the blood pressure is low. So in order to do that, you have to turn your patient head down, feet up, and still infuse. So I have this ventilated patient upside down, and I'm thinking to myself, and when the end of the blood came, I panicked because her blood pressure started to tank again. So now I'm adding drugs, blood pressure drugs, to keep her blood pressure coming up.
Yeah.
Fake with the blood pressure medications, and these drips save lives, but hers was still borderline. So anyway, I get more blood pressure gets a little better. And then when the blood stops, it's just kept going. So I called him, and me and him have an argument over the phone because her hemoglobin is 7, which is critical.
7?
7.
What's a healthy?
A healthy is above 13, 14.
So you're talking half.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's like, how much blood have you given her? I said 4 units.
What do you like? All of it.
I said as many as I can instill in her. And he's like, and you probably gave her
4?
so much.
4 sounds like a lot.
4 is a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's like, how much saline did you give her? I said 4. He's like, that's too much saline.
Is that 1 for 1?
Well, yeah. So he said that you hemodiluted her, which means that I gave her too much fluid and it diluted the numbers, so the numbers look fake low. And so he accused me of...
Is that possible?
It's possible. Okay. When you give too much fluid, your blood turns thinner.
But because of what's going in and what's dropping, she needs to stay hydrated in...
But it's also because I also gave her blood, so her actual hemoglobin should be higher, and it's not, which means she's bleeding, and he is denying that she's still bleeding from somewhere.
Probably because that blood didn't have hemoglobin.
So
you gotta go to the hemoglobin shelf.
Oh gosh, yeah, hemoglobin shelf, yes. So anyway, me and him got into a very bad argument. He hung up the phone on me.
Really? What a professional.
And I called the nursing supervisor of the hospital.
Yeah. And
she came down, she assessed the patient, and she's like, well, maybe we can call in another surgeon. I said, please do. And assess the fact that her belly's getting bigger. And that the blood is pooling inside of her.
So it's filling with blood.
Yeah. So she got someone else to come in, and he took one look at her and said, yeah, I need to call in. And I said, thank you. I can't call in an OR team. I'm just a nurse. Oh. I said, I can't call in and call people in the middle of the night
even
to come
in.
in.
Even though you know what's happening.
Oh, yeah. I knew she was bleeding from an artery. There's no way that your body can start to feel better as I'm squeezing in massive amounts of blood. And then immediately, as soon as the blood stops, you start fucking up again?
Yeah.
No way. You're definitely bleeding from an artery.
What did he find?
So she's on a tree of drips, and they found 3 nicked arteries.
Wow.
3 of them.
So from the initial surgery or the C-section?
So the second one, when he took out her uterus, I'm sure he nicked another one. Yeah.
Okay, but now...
Because she got real bad after that.
But
after
here's
the second one.
That leads to the next question.
Yeah. He nicked 3 of her arteries.
Right, but he took her uterus out for no reason.
Well, maybe not. Maybe it was coming from the uterus. Maybe he nicked her arteries afterward. I mean, it
still was going to happen potentially regardless.
Well, could he have nicked an artery during the initial C-section, like a small one?
Right.
Because what happened was that her fallopian tube artery had gotten nicked.
Because there's no way for us to know.
There's no way for us to know.
If I was her, I'd be pissed.
Well, so she comes back up. She's more stable. She ended up getting 20 different blood products from me that night. 20. Now she's like a whole new fucking person.
Yeah.
Because all those people didn't come from one person. It came from all different types of people.
She's like some sort of superhero.
Well, she needed to be followed closely because there's a lot of reactions that could happen to somebody who has all those different types of blood products.
Right?
A
Even though
lot
it's the
of
same
problems.
blood type?
And sometimes weeks later. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you could
So
have
she
a lot
have
of
to
effects.
check in like every...
Oh, she had to be hospitalized for a while.
Oh, she had to stay there to monitor it. It's that critical. Yeah, that's...
But the nice news was that later on that evening, I went home and I was like, thank God she's still alive. I hope that when I come back to work tonight that she's still alive. And I came back to work later on that evening and I requested not to have her because I didn't think I could handle another night.
Right.
So she was alive, but I couldn't go near her room. And then that was my last day of work for 30 days and I needed therapy.
Oh my.
I was postpartum
after
having Kaylani.
Right.
And she was postpartum and I had just dealt with somebody
That's
who
just
was
too much.
ready. It was
Yeah.
It was way too much.
Well, it's like stacking two together.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So,
So you took 30 days off just for mental health?
Yeah.
Is that like a short-term leave kind of thing? Or?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I got paid for it. I don't remember getting paid for short-term leave, but I definitely took 30 days off. And then I came back to work for 1 day and I put my 2 weeks in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's when you went to...
And then I took 4 months off, 5 months off.
Straight to cardiac.
I went to cardiac at Loyola. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. But she was very thankful. I got lots of reports while I was taking my leave that she was so grateful that she was like, especially to me that night when she was aware of everything.
She wouldn't have made it.
She wouldn't have made it.
There's no way.
And people were like that later on that evening when I came back to work, like, Ashley, if you weren't there, if you weren't her nurse, like anybody else, like you went and you yelled at doctors, you went and got another one, you called in basically, and you basically didn't let her die. And I was like, well, how could I?
Right.
But nurses should never be put in that kind of predicament.
Yeah.
To save someone's life and go above what a surgeon says. We shouldn't be put in those situations to where it's life or death, and we have to make those decisions.
Yeah.
So that was just the tip of the iceberg, the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back, because there were other complications throughout the last year that I was there that I was put through that made me like question, why am I still showing up to work? My license is on the line every single night.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like. Like pharmacy was bringing up wrong drugs with the right label, and we would scan, and everything was right, but we knew it was the wrong drug because you turned the drug around, and the drug was labeled completely different.
Wow. That's hard to catch.
It is hard to catch because when you're scanning your patient and scanning the drug and everything lights up green, and you go to hang it, it's 3:00 in the morning and you're short staffed and you have another patient in another room that's calling you to go in. You got to hurry up and hang that drug.
You're working at least 12-hour shifts, and
with no help. Right. There was no help. No one's there to help you.
I'm sure. But I got to think, too, and you're like, oh, I'm scanning them. This system is perfect.
Yeah, no. So you learn quickly you can't trust your pharmacist. You can't trust your doctors. You can't trust your buddies. You can only trust yourself. But do you really trust yourself?
Right. This is a double, triple, quadruple check job.
Yeah.
And check everybody else's work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And check everybody else's work.
Yeah.
The people that are supposed to,
That's the crazy part, though, is to be able to identify by looking at the drug.
Oh yeah.
So if it's mislabeled, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Dude.
I knew one night that my bag was too heavy.
Really?
Or my bag wasn't heavy enough. Which one was it? I think it was.
Which bag?
It was a bag of drugs. So it was in a saline bag.
Okay.
And I know how much things are supposed to weigh based off of holding it in my hand.
Right.
Okay? Because I could do things in my sleep.
Yeah.
And so I remember scanning it, said 250, but I was like, this is heavier.
I gotta think when you work with it every single day in some semblance, and it becomes common, you're like.
But this was a new drug.
Oh, really?
But yeah, so for me it was a new drug when I was hanging it, but I knew that just the weight just felt off, and something triggered me to, hey, why don't you rethink this? Don't connect this to the patient.
Yeah.
And who's ultimately responsible for this mistake.
Is it you?
Is it me?
It's definitely you.
Is it the pharmacist who wrote down the
No.
wrong things and gave me the wrong bag with the wrong patient? No. It's me.
Right.
I'm connecting it to this patient.
Right.
Is it the computer's fault that it lit up green? That everything scanned okay?
Yeah.
No.
Do you find that, does the blame ever find its way, or does it stick with the nurses?
Always
usually?
sticks with the nurses.
Yeah.
Always.
They're the easiest to just.
Oh, yeah. Because
throw
we're
under
the
the
last
bus.
line of defense
Right.
to you.
Yeah. That's absurd, because literally the last line of defense is supposed to be the last line of defense, and other people should be being held accountable to their jobs.
It doesn't go up.
Yeah. Right.
You know that.
Yeah. That's not just your job. That's jobs in general.
Yeah.
You know, shit travels downhill.
Yeah. Now, of course, if you nick an artery, of course, that is the doctor's fault, the surgeon's fault. You know, things like that. They cut things all the time.
But if you wouldn't have kept pushed for that, the inevitable, her stomach was already filling. I gotta think they would have filled her lungs and she'd be gone. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
It could have been if it got to the lungs, but because they
What
nicked
else
an
would have
artery.
happened?
I mean, eventually, what you do is you become hypovolemic, which is no fluid in your body, which is blood, no fluid running through your veins, and you go into cardiac arrest and you die. So people in massive like car accidents that are bleeding internally, they only have like 5, 10, 15 minutes or whatever. Especially if it's an abdominal aorta, they're as good as dead unless you're already in the hospital. And you basically die of hypovolemia, which is blood coming and pouring into spaces that can't be pumped back around to the blood, and your heart just eventually dies and goes into cardiac arrest. Yeah.
What a horrible conversation.
I'm
had.
sorry. Hey, you asked. I was like, listen,
yeah,
I don't
well,
know. You want to talk about my career-ending
I do
ICU
think it's
experience?
fascinating, but it's a lot. I'm still fudged up with the ripping. Dude, like.
Oh yeah, I almost passed out when I first saw mine in a regular. I could do open heart. I can see the saw like going into the sternum and then them opening up the
Stop it.
But I
They
cannot.
put a thing, right?
Huh?
Don't they put a thing
A thing?
that holds it?
Oh
open?
yes, a crank.
Crank,
and
yeah.
opens it up. Yeah.
Does that pull also,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And then
pulls-
you lock it into place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, so
Because they have to
cool.
break the chest cavity
Yes.
also, right?
Yes.
They cut through that.
They cut through it. Oh
Stop
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
Stop it.
It's so good.
I find it fascinating, but it really, really bothers me. Sometimes I can just get fucked up thinking that I have a skeleton. Like, it's just too much. I can't
it is
deal
kind
with
of weird though, right?
It is weird.
Skeleton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like when you can see it and you're not supposed to be seeing it. I don't like that. But so let's end on a better note.
Okay.
Because we touched upon when you dated for 6 years.
Yeah.
Had your first kid.
Yeah.
You guys are. You think you'll never get married? Legit?
I mean,
Because of your greed.
I mean, maybe if the governmental system gets a little bit nicer to married folks and doesn't punish them for being married, I probably would consider it. Yes. But until then, I don't want to be punished by being married. So why would I subject myself to that? It's actually a lot better. You don't get any benefits from health insurance by being married. You used to be able to be on like your husband's health insurance when he's working and you're a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Now what they do is they punish you. The insurance companies punish couples who are married that are working 2 separate jobs.
Mm-hmm.
He can have his own insurance and I can have my insurance. But if he decides to come over and be on my insurance, they have an uptick, a punishment of like $70 a month extra to have my spouse have his insurance. And
So
be
you
on
guys
my
have separate insurance?
Yeah.
What about the children?
They're on mine. I have a better insurance.
And it would not be lucrative to have him on your insurance.
No, it'd be a punishment.
Yeah, because your rates would go up so much.
And it would be a punishment for me to be on his.
That is stupid.
Yeah.
I
So
can't
that used to
believe
be the
that's true.
incentive.
I would say it hasn't always been like that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Been
not-
since like the Obama era.
Yeah.
They punish.
Thanks, Obama. Right.
Well, whatever. It's a governmental thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
whatever dickhead's in charge. is
yeah,
gonna
it
do the
doesn't even
same
matter.
thing.
It's all the same,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
I just like to say that because it's so cliche.
I know.
Even with some other.
But you
politicians.
know that's a way to divide us when it's
yeah.
all really
It's all
the
part of
same.
the plan.
It's all part of the
It's
plan.
rhetoric. Yeah, it's whatever.
stupid. We're
Yeah.
supposed to hate this person. We're supposed to hate that person.
Right.
It's all fucking bullshit.
Whoever. Yeah, it's just a face.
If
to
you can
point
see
at.
through that and be open
Yeah.
to the fact that we're programmed to
Right.
like and dislike certain things,
Yeah.
then you're free of the matrix. And it's nice that you're not triggered by certain things.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. So
I forgot where we were going with that.
Well,
oh,
no.
not married. Right. Would I
Yeah.
Ever get married?
Right. You're not going to get married.
Yeah.
You're going to keep having children out of wedlock and
Yeah.
making God cry.
Making God cry.
Yeah. But what do you suppose is next for you guys?
That's a good question. I got bored working at Loyola. I remember telling you a little bit about that earlier.
Before we got on, she was like, "Oh, I got to learn more stuff."
Yeah.
We just went through in depth about how you've already gotten like 4 degrees and went to school for at least 20 years. And now you're like, I guess I better go back to school. You're like a professional student.
Yeah, professional student. And
what do you want to learn next then?
So I've been dabbling into, because people are so sick and all we're doing is sick care. And I wanted to get to the bottom of why people are so sick and the reasons why they do the things that they do and why they find comfort in alcohol and drugs and things like that. And we need to get to them before they get into the hospital.
Right.
Well, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, what as a nurse, what am I going to provide as far as value?
Yeah.
Well, I decided to get into hypnotherapy
Oh, nice.
and medical, I guess, how do I say it? Concentration in hypnotherapy, and trying to figure out why they make those decisions unconsciously.
Yeah.
And how they can go about healing their bodies. Because if you make yourself sick, you can also heal yourself.
Sure. And
I firmly believe that we all make ourselves sick internally, emotionally, physically, with our food, our environment, our situations, how we handle stress, and how can we fix that before you get to the hospital.
Yeah, there's this book you should read that I've talked about at nauseum on the show before, so I'm not even going to mention it. When we get off, I'll talk to you about it. Just because I'm like so sick of just repeating myself all the time.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing book, and it kind of talks about how upwards of like 99% of diseases and ailments and mental things are all manufactured within the brain.
That's correct.
And stuff like that. And
I wholeheartedly believe that. I could have probably written the book.
You're so humble.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm passionate about people being able to take charge of their health care, especially when it comes to cancer.
Sure.
People think that, doctors are gods and they're going to save them, and this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I said, you need to take accountability for yourself.
That's not in a blaming way, though.
No.
That's what society kind of builds up, and it's comforting to be able to trust somebody with your best interest in mind.
Yes.
But that's not what reality is usually.
Correct.
So it's not like you dumb shit, stop believing everybody. It's, hey man, like, just look at reality. Think about the big picture.
Yeah.
If I'm telling you that this guy's going to make an extra 30 grand if he gives you this, why wouldn't he give you that?
Right.
Even whether you need it or not.
Right. Right.
Then you make your own decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like we have the power to heal ourselves.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can maybe get and tap into something
With the hypnosis?
Yeah. Yeah, and past life regression. They call it past life regression, whether or not people believe in past lives or not. But
Do you?
I think on a certain level I do. Yes.
Does that contradict?
It contradicts a lot of religious beliefs and a
That's
lot
what
of
I'm
people.
curious about.
Yeah. So a part of me feels that there's a lot of studies showing that our DNA has our DNA of our ancestors and what they went through.
Your whole lineage is built
Your whole lineage is built into your DNA. So is it past lives, or is it your great-grandmother or great-grandfather going through something and now it's within your blood?
Or
and
realistically, if it's that genetically inclined, what's the difference?
Correct.
It's a whole new paradigm of like thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that can get really esoteric, really out there.
Yeah. I know about some of my past lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating. It's amazing. Yeah.
See, I think that's a whole 2-hour conversation.
That's true.
We could talk about. And I think that would be awesome. I've done QHHT, quantum hypnosis therapy, on a few people that are close to me, and it freaked me out, and I haven't done it since. I was successful, and it freaked me out because I wasn't sure I was going to be sick. I was like, oh, hypnosis. Oh, it looks cool. Oh, what a great concept. But, how true is it really? And then when I first did it, and it was real. And
it gets intense fast.
And she was crying during her. I was like, oh my God. I was like, are you for real right now?
Yeah.
And it made me nervous because I'm supposed to be the one asking her questions.
Right. Well, you can also do a lot of psychological damage if you're not even keeled and doing your due diligence, and because stuff will come up, and if you don't know where to go next, you can really fuck somebody up.
Yeah, and that's not my intention. My intention is trying to figure out why you're holding on to something from a past life.
When I did the trauma recovery, it was a light hypnosis where we would rewrite the synapses in the brain. And stuff like that. Open doors.
Yeah, for sure.
It's exciting.
Yeah. So that's where I am. I'm starting more massages because I'm finally having more energized, days in my life.
Yeah.
Because I'm
now,
part-time.
Do you take people or
I do.
Do you seek people?
Well,
like if somebody messaged you, it was like, hey, could I get a massage? Like, what's your schedule look like?
Yeah.
When can I get in?
Right. Weekends. I have permanent weekends off. And then, Tuesdays I'm permanently off as well. So I have a permanent schedule, and I just kind of fluctuate with that. But I wasn't able to do that until I dropped down from full-time to part-time because I didn't have the energy. I'm a mom. Yeah. It's just too much. And so I didn't have the energy to do it. So now I am, and I'm doing a lot of neighbors. Neighbors are coming over monthly and getting massages, and it's really nice because I'm getting good quality people for a higher price, and I'm able to do what I love and be done with it. I don't have to deal with the riffraff and the foo-foo and the doctors taking half my money. Well,
I like it too because a lot of people I know have like small businesses or independent companies.
Yeah.
And I can't stand when people are like, "Oh, give me a discount," or "Let me get this." Like, no. We're here to support each other's business now. Yeah. And we all need to make money. That's the whole point. Yeah. We're trying to do this for a living. Yeah. So now everybody that's listening has a masseuse go-to.
Oh, yes. I do Yorkville. Deep tissue trigger point therapy. And I specialize in, have you ever heard of scraping or gua sha?
No.
Where I take tools and I basically scrape all your problem areas to the point where new blood surfaces.
Really?
And you get better mobility. It's like a physical therapy move. I'm trained in that. And then cupping therapy. And I basically beat the living shit out of people. Yeah,
I'm having issues actually with my shoulders and neck, to where I think I'm shrugging when I sleep. Yeah, and it's really, really been bad over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, so maybe I could get over myself.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty awesome, and massage makes me happy. Yeah, and doing nursing full time does not make me happy. So if you can tell in my passion, I mean, I'm passionate about healthcare and helping people.
Well, I think that's the thing is you're passionate about helping people, but it's a broken system right now and probably for our lifetime, but at least right now, because you're passionate about the other thing too, but it brings you joy.
Yes. Brings me great joy.
Do you think that's your love language?
My love language is physical touch.
Yeah, physical touch.
Yeah, that's very easy to say.
It's a bit on the nose, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're the easiest person. Yeah. Well, that's what you do. That's why I'd be curious. Is it your love language? Is that what you like also?
Yes.
Is physical touch?
Yes.
That's how, that makes sense. Because it's not always the same.
No. Yeah. And my husband does not have the same love language as me.
He doesn't like to be touched?
He does, but not as much as acts of service.
Did you guys hear her call him her husband?
Or him? I always call him my husband.
Listen, no, if you're not going to follow the rules.
And he calls me his wife.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Yeah. You're going to be those weird old people that are like, this is my boyfriend of 100 years.
I know, right? Yeah. The father of my children. Yeah. Yeah.
You guys don't deserve cool labels.
Yeah. But in the end, I just want people to think for themselves. Yeah. And I don't mean for me to be all scary when it comes to healthcare.
Well, it's also like, don't take our word for it.
Well,
fucking look into it yourself. Figure it out.
And really, just don't think that all doctors are gods and that they all graduated with A's from Harvard University.
Somebody has an appointment for a D doctor right now.
Okay? The bad ones go to telehealth. They're online. Go talk to them, okay? The ones that went to the Caribbean college and couldn't make it in the United States and are now practicing in the United States, you need to look to see where your doctor has been educated.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's actually something I do because I also don't respond well to men in general. I just don't like that, like the male ego, and they're not all like that. But
No.
I usually seek out a female doctor,
Yeah.
and I like to look into their background, like their specialties and stuff like that. I never thought it was smart. I just thought it was weird.
No, it's smart.
I guess it's what you're supposed to do.
But they're all in the same protocol in the end anyway.
Right, and that's the thing. Well, they're part of the system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you do want a doctor who can think for themselves.
Yeah.
I
need a doctor that'll listen to me too, because like I had a doctor who wanted to put me on like shots immediately for
steroids.
For weight loss.
Oh,
like
Ozempic?
this will. So Ozempic was just launching, and I presume that's what she meant, because she was like, "Yeah, you do this, and it curbs your appetite."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't like that. One, I don't want to shot myself.
Right.
Two, I don't like things artificially affecting me like that.
Right.
And I was like, why don't you give me a month to do what I want to do?
Yeah.
And we'll take another reading and do some more blood work.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was doing really well.
Yeah.
Now I'm like circling the drain. But at that time, I was like, I know I can do it myself.
Things it take time.
Sure.
Yeah.
That probably takes determination and want. And,
Yeah. Well, emotion. Most of the time, it's emotional.
yeah.
And it's hard to regulate your emotions. That's what we're here on Earth to do, it is one of the hardest things to learn.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
And your emotions will eat you, inside.
I eat my emotions. I don't know if you
well,
can see that.
I mean, I figured it was emotionally related.
This
yes.
shirt hides.
Yes.
I don't know if you could tell I'm actually a fat guy.
But no, like food and alcohol and things like that, they soothe you.
I'm so lucky that I don't have a drug addiction or alcohol addiction.
Well, yeah. But food is
just intense
your drug.
Sugar addiction.
Food is what's going to kill you if
Listen,
you continue to let it go there.
Okay.
I mean, if we want to go that far.
Sure, Doc.
Yeah. And I care about everybody, and I want everyone to do well, and I want everyone to succeed. Yeah. But the first step is not just going on a diet, and the first step isn't just exercising. It's trying to figure out why you're doing the things you're doing.
Right. Yeah, and I've always
and
been
it's not about blame.
I've always been a mental work first.
Yes.
Because it's going to dictate the other things, and kind of they'll fall in line.
Yeah.
It's kind of easier to make them fall in line when you're mentally ready.
Correct. Because you can go to the gym and lift weights all day long.
Right.
Is that going to fix you?
No, it's not.
No.
Right.
No.
But I think that's a good. I think we've come to the end. Do you have anything else to talk about?
Oh God.
I mean, we could keep going, but I also want. I don't know if people made it.
No,
this
people
far.
are not going to want to listen to me. If they want me back on, maybe you can get some feedback, and maybe I can come back on. Maybe if they find me annoying, I'll just shut up.
We'll take
and
a
be
poll. Like, first off, did you make it to the end of this episode?
Right.
Should we talk to actually more?
Yeah. Because I mean, I have like stripper stories. I've got tons of stories. I mean,
are you friends with strippers?
I mean,
like that used to be strippers.
I'm friends with them on Facebook.
I've always wanted to talk to somebody in the business.
Yeah.
I tried to once, and this lady hit me up. She was like the gatekeeper for them.
Oh.
She's like, you talk to me and I talk to them. And I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah.
But then I was like, they're probably used to dealing with scumbags.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and my brain just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I was like, hey, I'm just doing this podcast. I would love to, just kind of talk to them. My whole goal, like anything, is to elevate and to normalize.
Yeah.
So that was the whole thing. And they're like, all right, well, she just hits back immediately. Like, so they don't do anything for free. What are you going to pay them? And I'm like, this is a stupid, small little podcast that's not generating revenue.
Correct.
This is just
for fun. Like
have a conversation.
Yeah.
And to kind of put your story out there in general.
Yeah.
For people
to hear.
And I was like, I understand if that means you're not going to respond to this. And then I never heard back from her.
Well, it would be fun to have some interesting people on that have interesting stories.
I should say. Yeah.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, now we're just rambling about nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For finding the time coming back.
Yeah.
We talked for way too long.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. I think we got everything out. There's probably another 3-hour episode in there somewhere.
Oh yeah.